morning?
No, I'm next month, 2 weeks. Okay.
Well, good morning, everyone. We'd like to welcome you to our Iron County Commission meeting this Monday, the 11th day of September, 2023. It's 9 o'clock on the dot, and somebody fix the clock. John, was that you?
It was me.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. We'll begin this morning with a prayer offered by John Whitaker, our clerk, and then we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Luke Little, our auditor.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful this historic morning to be gathered together. We're grateful for this land that we live, and in spite of the tragedy of September 11th, we're grateful how that the nation came together as it did, and we pray that we might find those ties that bind us and that we might stand united. We're grateful to be gathered for this commission meeting this morning. We pray that thou wilt bless us, that everything may go smoothly. We pray that thou wilt bless commissioners with inspiration and that they may be able to make decisions in accordance with thy will. Please help us to be civil. Please help us to express our ideas with thoughtfulness and kindness, and civility. We pray that thou will bless our dear county. We pray that thou will bless the citizens, that they may be prospered. Bless us that we might be protected from natural disaster. Help us to come together when things do happen. We're grateful that that is indeed the case and that we've witnessed it many times. We love thee and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All please stand and follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead with the approval of our minutes, and these minutes are dated August 15th of this year.
I would move for approval of the minutes, August 15th, 2023.
Find my microphone. I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then we'll go to approval of our claims, paying the bills for August 28th, 23 through September 10th, 23.
I would move for approval of claims for payment from August 28th, 2023 to September 10th, 2023.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I can't talk.
Is that an aye?
Yeah. Aye.
All right. We'll go to departmental reports, and we'll start with our auditor, Lucas.
Okay, good morning, Commission.
Morning.
So the auditor's office is currently accepting appeal applications for property valuations. As of right now, we have about 350 appeals. Last year, we had 460. The deadline to file an appeal is this Friday, September 15th. The applications we receive usually almost double in the last 2 weeks. So we are expecting to surpass the number of appeals that we had last year. The hearings with a certified appraiser will be scheduled later this month to rule on these appeals. And Carrie in my office, she handles all of the paperwork and schedules the hearings for these appeals. So she has been super busy this time of year, and we appreciate her. We have also been accepting abatement applications, and that deadline was on September 1st. We are now reviewing these applications and entering them into our tax software before the treasurer sends out property tax bills next month. And Cherisha is in charge of these abatements now. This is her first year doing them, and she has been doing a great job. We do have a lot of people that come into our office needing help with these, so everyone is trained in our office on assisting people with these if Cherisha is not available. Next thing, so this year is flying by, and it's already that time to start preparing budgets for next year. I did send out budget worksheets to each department last week. They will be working on preparing their budget over the next few weeks. Then they will meet with the commission next month to present their budget. I will be working on putting the schedule together for this. In July, I went to a newly elected officials training with the Utah Association of Counties, and this training was on budgeting. We had the UAC president, Curtis Koch, there, who is the auditor for Davis County, and he did this training, and it was very informative, and he gave a lot of great advice and tips on budgeting that will help me as we go through the budget process. I am also reviewing the budget for this year. This week I will be putting together a list of budget adjustments that need to be made. We have a lot of departments that get grants that are approved throughout the year, and other items that have come up this year that require budget adjustments. And we usually do a budget adjustment about halfway through the year, and then at the end of the year is what we've kind of done over the years and in the past. And at this training, I did ask Curtis how often his county and he does a budget adjustment, and he said that they do one about every other month. And I think that's a great idea and a great opportunity for each department to focus more on their budget throughout the year, and something that I want to put into place and do more next year. Lastly, the last few months have been super busy working on options for financing the jail project. I have had many conversations with people that have come into my office or called and asked questions about property taxes. And this has brought a lot of attention to property taxes, which is great for people to pay attention and learn how it works. Most people believe that their increase in value each year increases the revenue that the county receives. And I have explained this to people that this is not the case, and help them understand the process of how calculating property taxes works. They have been very appreciative and feel a lot better knowing the details. So I invite anyone who has questions about their property taxes to come talk to me, and I hope to be a resource to the public in that. Also just want to say thanks to our veterans and service members on this day as we remember 9/11 and that tragic event that took place, and as we remember this great country that we live in. So thank you.
Thank you, Luke.
Thanks, Luke.
Appreciate it. All right, Parks and Rec and Tourism. Maria.
Good morning.
Oh. Thank you.
That's a beautiful sight you got there. Right behind right on a snowmobile. Thank you.
So we'll start with Parks and Rec first, just because I have a presentation for.
Is this correct?
Yeah. So we'll get into that in just a minute. So things are going very well at Parks and Rec, and we just finished up the high school mountain bike race over Labor Day weekend, and it went pretty well as far as I can tell. It had almost 1,000 participants, and then probably about 2,000 parents, staff, and who came out for this race. It went well. And we're excited because we'll be hosting the high school mountain bike championship in October 20th through the 21st. And that will have about 4,000 people out there, which is great because that is a time of year when we can certainly use the business in Iron County. But the conditions are still great, and we're excited to host them. We can't host them every year. They like to move the championship around every year. As part of that, we just want to say thank you to Bruce Anderson and his team, because they went out and cleared 17 acres for the parking area. It's kind of some overflow parking that will be needed for that race.
Did you use it this week
No.
for Labor Day? You didn't need it?
We did not need it, but they used the first overflow, which was mowed.
Was that the one we went out and looked at?
Uh-huh.
And how'd it go? Did it
They
go
got
good?
It went good.
They got it all
It's all cleared,
brushed,
except the slash is just sitting there. We're gonna have the BLM take that away.
Can they just burn it? Can they?
No.
There's too much dirt in it, so it'll
Well,
just smolder for years, probably.
So
it'll
it's-
just sit
oh.
there.
It's
and
just
smolder.
sitting in a pile. It's in some piles.
The
and
BLM's gonna haul it off, or
we're gonna have the BLM haul it off.
they will?
Will
do that?
they do it?
Yeah.
They kind of talked like they wanted us to do it, but
Well, we're
We'd
gonna
appreciate
We'll
if they-
appreciate it when they haul it off. So, right now, I just said there's no way we could do it this year, and we just again, I wanted to say
Way.
thank you to Bruce, because I know how busy they are, and that was a big deal. So,
big deal.
but when you look at the economic impact of those races on our area, I mean, it's just like, thank you. Here's a way the county can come together and make things happen.
We made it a good training too. Some of our new guys was able to run some of the equipment, so that made it nice for a good training
Oh.
for some of our new guys. Yep.
Excellent. So we're excited for that. Right now, our park reservations and camping fees and the fees we collect on events we're sitting at $11,206, which is a little over $1,500 over last year. So we're doing good.
Nice.
Woods Ranch, we've been, since we've been putting a lot of more effort into 5 Mile over the last couple of years, Woods Ranch kind of was neglected a little bit. So we've been spending a lot of time at Woods Ranch this summer. We put in new picnic tables. We're working on the benches that will be going around the kids pond. We just completed our sanitary survey, which is what we're required to do every 2 years in order for us to provide clean drinking water. And so that's a little stressful, but we got through that. And we're just going to start the winterize at the end of this month. So we do keep one bathroom open during the wintertime, so that all the people who love to recreate.
Is
in
that
the
a
winter.
vault? That's a vault,
It's
right?
a vault.
Yeah.
And if we can keep the other one open, we will, but there's always at least one bathroom open. But at the end of September, we do shut down the water system and just get it ready for winter. 5 Mile, we're still hoping to open next season. We've been able to get a lot done thanks to Mike Worthen, and he was able to get us some SUU interns who went in and did some work. And then we, as you know, we hired Alpha Engineering to do to help us plan the water system, and we'll hope to get that work moving forward. And then we also ordered some more tables and fire pits, for like the group area. And so we're hoping if we can get those in before the season ends, then we will. So, but again, the goal is to open next season.
With the
And
camp host.
We'll
We'll see, huh?
see. We'll see.
Okay.
So, I don't know. We'll do what we can. And then just to kind of give you a heads up of an issue we're having. I mean, this is an ongoing issue out at the shooting range, but we have the use of the shooting range in terms of the group area is extensive. It's, everybody wants to use it on the weekends. And so it does fill up. And then, so it's pushing some of these groups out into the public bays. And so then these groups are pushing the public out of the bays when we would like them not to be doing that. So it's something we're going to have to look at in terms of, I've tried limiting the amount of the group use in terms of these groups that like to use that area. And all it's done is just push them out into the public part. So I don't know what the answer is, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. So as we're moving forward, it's something we're going to have to keep in mind. So do you have any questions regarding Parks and Rec?
I do. So over at the fairgrounds, we have the heavy tables, and we put those underneath a tent this year over in the food court area, and we could use more tables. Is there any possibility that maybe we could order some more of those heavy tables sometime before next fair?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a budget?
No.
Okay. Well, let's talk about
we'll
it at
need
budget
to,
time.
We'll need to talk about it. But they're that big tent could have accommodated many more tables, and a lot of times when I went over there, it was completely full.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, we had to arm wrestle some people out of their tables.
Did you?
Yeah. So it was kind of funny.
So that's an issue, but we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Murray, I had another question. So,
Sure.
and I may have missed the discussion before, but with the contract with Pendleton with refurbishing the pavilion.
So I think
That's Mike.
That's Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
bringing that
yeah, he
today.
is. But he has a grant. Marilyn said that he got a grant for that. Is there matching, or is there? I don't
know.
remember
we'll
talking
have
about
to
this.
ask. We'll have to ask Mike
Ask
when he
Mike.
comes.
Yeah.
It's on the agenda, but
He has not. He
Yeah.
has not shared that with me, so
Okay.
I
I
don't know.
believe
Yeah.
it was completely grant funded.
Okay.
It should be.
completely
okay.
grant funded.
I
thought
don't
it
remember.
was.
Do you guys remember talking about that much? It just kind of surprised me.
We just reviewed the contract, so it's supposed to be coming.
Yeah, we've talked about it for the last couple of years. Mike wanted to get that done, and it was a real issue because of it being historic. You have to have a certain person to do it and all of that. But
I just didn't.
yeah,
Anyway, I knew that it was maybe on the radar. but
we've
It's on
talked
the-
about
I know
it
it's
several
supposed
times.
to be
Yeah.
discussed today. So,
Okay, all right.
so I know like the tables and chairs were taken care of under a grant. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, let's talk tourism.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll get it for you.
Okay, so tourism. So right now, TRT collections are trending higher than last year. We're up about 4%, and restaurant collections are up 14%. Occupancy.
That's great news.
Wow.
isn't it?
That
Yes.
is. That's
I
wonderful.
thought sales tax was down. I thought that might be down too.
I don't know, but
really
all I as far as I can tell on the reporting, we're up. So,
Nice.
and occupancy is up 6.8%. So,
That's fabulous.
and our average daily rate is up 2.7. So when, that could be some of it, because prices are higher.
Those are higher.
So taxes are going to be a little higher, but to be honest, I was expecting us to be down this year, so I'm thrilled that that we're at this level.
I just thought with COVID money running out and that slowing down, it might. But that's really good news.
Well, it's funny is when we go through, big changes in the economy, Iron County tends to go more like this, especially in tourism, rather than big dips like our neighbors. Our neighbors also rely heavily on international travel, which has not come back as much as they would like to. And so, we're not an international destination. We do have international travelers, but we're not like they are, where they rely so much on national park visitation. So, I think we just have this kind of we're still a great value. We're an easy, quick getaway. We just don't get the kind of visitation where they're staying for several nights. They say usually more like 2 nights rather than a week. So, and then we have Brian Head, who is just doing really, really well. And so where you've got long, short-term vacation rentals, which are typically higher in their price point, and, they're probably staying just a little bit longer. I think those are leading to what's happening. We'll see. I'm hoping this is going to stay the way that it is because it's good news. And then next commission meeting, I will be bringing you a grant that we've gone to the Utah Office of Tourism to receive some support for off season. It's about $140,000 match. So
Nice.
earned media to date, thanks to our communication specialists, we've had 138 positive mentions. Equaling $27 million in advertising value equivalent. These mentions are included in MSN Travel, World Atlas, and AOL News, and I've included that report in your packet. And just kind of a heads up.
Now this is advertising in these.
So what it is instead of a third party writes something about us. So basically, we pitch to media to talk about us, and it's very cost effective because it's almost free. And so we do all these pitches. Sometimes we have them come and visit through a familiarization tour.
This third party is probably even more powerful than if we're trying to.
Far
advertise,
more powerful.
Right? I mean, it's.
So, but you have to have so what you do is, how is it valuable? Is it's equivalent to if we were to pay for it in advertising. So 138 positive media mentions equals $27 million that we didn't have to put out in advertising. So
Awesome.
and we have software that helps calculate that for us. It's, internationally accredited, so it's not like it's pulling it out of thin air. It actually looks, it has a formula that equates it to that advertising equivalent. So we're very proud of that because, again, that third party is far more powerful in terms of people saying, oh yeah, it's not an advertisement, it's somebody saying this is cool and you should go visit.
That's huge.
In 2024, the Utah Film Commission is celebrating 100 years of film, and Iron County is the birthplace of film in Utah, thanks to the Perry brothers, who went out and encouraged people to come, these filmmakers to come to Utah and film their westerns. And so we are going to be a kickoff event for that celebration. So it will be February 3rd, and we'll be doing it at the recently renovated Cedars Hotel in the lobby space in that event center. So more details to come. All right, clicker.
So I'm just going to have to do it. I'm out of USB ports.
Oh, okay.
So I will guess, or
I-
you will say beep.
I hope you will be with me, be a little patient with me, because I'm going to have to look at this a little bit. So, a past commission meeting, you did ask me to kind of come to you and kind of go over some of the things that we do, and why we do it. And so I put together this report. I will go through it really quickly, because I know we're short on time. But so basically, we utilize the transient room tax, which is the 4.25% tax on every room night sold in Iron County. We have a tourism advisory board who advises us on how to best spend our tax dollars, and we have 3 lodging partners who represent the industry for which the tax is collected on our board, because they want to make sure that we're fulfilling our mandate, which is, bring people to Iron County. So that is our budget. This is our 2023 budget, and I just wanted to kind of go over some of the things, like where we spend the majority of our dollars, which is advertising and promotion, as well as events. Events falls under several categories in our budget, which is the special events line item, summer games, Shakespeare, and contributions. Click, click. So the percentage of our advertising spend, so our advertising is $550,000. That's not including grants. And this breaks down basically how we spend it. Our majority of what we spend it on is in digital marketing. You could also put TripAdvisor destination, which is also digital, into that pie. And then we also do website and social, your typical I-15 billboards, magazine ads, streaming TV, quite a bit of radio, including Las Vegas and KSL. And then we do a KSL weather sponsorship. We do have regional radio, and we participate with SUU Athletics. So every time they stream one of their games, there is an ad from Iron County on that being broadcast during that game, which is a great partnership for us because it's pretty cost effective. A lot of their partnerships are more about what's happening inside the game, like when you go into the arena. And for us, that wasn't exactly what we needed. So they were able to negotiate this advertisement that plays every single game that's broadcast on ESPN, ESPN1, and all of their streaming services.
So, I mean, where we don't have as many international folks, does that type of invest? I mean, do you see a return on investment as far as even some of the local folks with tourism, and then also the people that watch on ESPN? I mean, is there any measurable there?
It's difficult to measure.
Yeah.
So and so we basically look at what we do as an awareness campaign. Okay. So we're trying to make sure that we are keeping Iron County or the Iron County destination top of mind. Now, as we move forward, and because things are getting far more sophisticated, and we'll probably start switching a lot of this more into the digital marketing, where we actually can address ROI, return on investment.
Sure.
Then we'll see some switches here. But there are times when we should just, it's a good partner to be doing awareness.
Well, I think it's great. I have a little game sometimes that I play, and I'll see one of your ads on it, which is super awesome. Yeah.
So that's what our digital marketing is. It's those ads you see when you're looking at like a news site or when you're like searching on Google. It's also the creepy little ad that follows you around once you typed in camping, and all of a sudden, we're kind of following you with an ad. We hired a really great videographer when Wyatt left. We hired Dallas Smith, who's a really great videographer, and he has totally changed our game in terms of our videos. And so now we do more digitally with videos, which has far more, people look at them, people interact with them far better. So that's how we're devising it out. We do have a travel trade contract. Her name is Becky Lewis that comes out of this budget, and that is our international. So she goes to those trade shows and those sales missions in which we can talk directly with the people who put together international travel. And so it's far more direct. It's not a shotgun approach. These are the people who are bringing people to Utah, and we can talk to them directly. So that's her contract. We also have that contract with her under the restaurant tax. So here's just some examples of some of the ads that we've been running. These are mostly like the digital. We do have a digital adventure pass that we advertise through our hotels for those who come here, to basically encourage them to go out and see our attractions, and then they win prizes as they check in. So it's not a physical pass, it's actually on your phone. It's not an app, but it's on your phone.
Where's that? Yeah, right there. That waterfall.
That is actually in Canara Falls.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Up above her.
It's above the first ladder.
No.
And just before the second ladder.
So all of this advertised, that all paid through TRT, TRCC, all of it.
Yes, all of it. Doesn't come out of the general fund. We don't touch the general fund, ever.
Ever.
Out of tourism, anyways. Do you want to play that ad? I'll show you this ESPN ad.
Well, you know what? Sorry, this is going to take me just a sec. I've got to stop this stream here so that I can.
Sorry, if
Nice
you
audio
want to
now.
move on, it's
Good.
Get on your feet. Get on your feet. Get on your feet. Spot time. Go time. Show time. Get on your feet.
Wow. That's awesome.
we love Dallas.
That is wonderful.
He's really brought a whole new level to what we're doing. So good that we're gonna play it again.
Well, I went to the next slide and it was.
You might have to go back. Okay. No,
Are there
click.
two?
Is there two?
No,
Oh.
just go. Click. There you go.
Okay.
Okay, so as I was talking before about special events, as I said, that does come out of four lines, which is special events, summer games, Shakespeare, and contributions. Contributions line item is the attractions and the bigger events in our county that are more than 10 days out of the year. So they do more than 10 days. So they're typically an attraction like the Frontier Homestead or the Southern Utah Museum of Art. You can click it. Go ahead.
Click it.
Click
Oh,
it.
sorry.
Click it.
Click it. It was back
So
there. It was working right.
there you go. So you can see how we've broken it down. Our investment in events is $260,000. You can see how some of the bigger events and how the contributions that we give to them. And then we have, like Shakespeare, Summer Games, Bryan Head, the airport, Cedar City events, who just had their marathon over the weekend, Frontier Homestead, Parowan City, and Southern Utah Museum of Art. So these are basically attractions who are doing more than 10 days worth of events, who get these kind of higher investments. And then we have a small events fund, which is about 54,000. You can click it, and I can show that is a list of some of the events who have put in an application and requested funds from the TRT, and that just helps you.
How is Shakespeare doing this year?
They've told me that they are doing better than they anticipated and that they've met their budget.
Oh,
Good.
that's good.
So,
Good.
but we still have a month left, so but I think they're going to do fine this year.
That's good news.
Go ahead and click. Outside of TRT, we also just want to make sure you're aware of, I mention it every time I come, but I want to just kind of talk about the impact. We do a grant with the Utah Office of Tourism. We do it with Bryan Head Resort and Bryan Head Town. Last year, with all of our contributions, it was $374,000 for a winter marketing campaign. We've been doing this for several years. It just helps us leverage our money so that we can advertise further, particularly in Southern California where it's very expensive. And we had a record-breaking year, over 300,000 skier days. Click. And then I did want to talk about the restaurant food tax, the TRCC, and just kind of just show you what we have going on there. We basically have $1 million to work with every year through the miscellaneous projects fund. We do have some transfers to like the fair and then the Shakespeare bond. But as far as the $1 million in the miscellaneous projects, this is just a breakdown of everything we have on the books so far for this year. These are applications, so these entities apply for those funds. We give them 50% upfront, but they have to complete their project within 2 years. And we've been able to do some amazing things through that fund. But there's some great projects. We just like Cross Hollows, the pickleball courts with Cedar City Leisure Services, SUMA, just some marketing and exhibits. The BLM, they're working on the Pyramid Ridge Trail. There's just lots of great projects that are coming from that fund. And again, that doesn't touch the general fund. That is its own entity. And then, if you wouldn't mind. And I just want to talk about why these are great projects that from the past that are now coming to completion. We have the new Cedar Breaks Visitor Center. That picture was taken a couple of days ago, so we're almost near completion. And hopefully we'll be opening next year. And then
Did they cancel ribbon cutting?
yeah, they
Yeah.
did.
Yeah,
They
they
did.
were
Got on my calendar.
because of the winter, right?
Yeah, the
They
winter.
put them behind.
Put them way behind.
Mm.
And so I
We-
think, but it looks beautiful now, like even the siding's up and everything like that.
Mm.
So,
But
and
they're going
then-
to have a ribbon cutting next year, still in August. Is that what they're planning?
I don't know. I'm hoping she'll
They-
be at our meeting this afternoon,
Oh.
so we can ask her.
Ask her, see where we're at on that.
And then we've done quite a bit of investment in the Iron Hills area of mountain biking trails, and it just has become designated as a national recreation trail. So they had a dedication about a week ago that we've had
Where's
it
that at?
scheduled.
Out west?
No, it's behind the Holiday Inn and
Oh, yeah.
so several years of lots of money being invested into that, lots of volunteer time, but now we've reached National Recreation Trail status. So
Wow.
that's like
That's a
Pacific
big deal.
Coast Trail, that's the Appalachian Trail, that's the Slick Rock Trail. We're up in those ranks with this trail system. So
That
it's
will
big.
bring tourists.
That will bring tourists. They already do come.
Yeah.
So, but the investment is great. So that's all I have. I hope do you have any questions for me?
Some great news today. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Awesome.
I love working with Maria and being involved because this is proactive things that we can do to better the county, and I just really enjoy my assignment with Maria. I always walk in the visitor center and they're like, "You here to shake her down again?" I'm like, "Yep." Shake down.
So anyways, thank you.
No, I really appreciate it, and
We
we've
appreciate you.
Yeah.
Maria does a whole lot in the community outside of just these things as well. Kind of, she's smart and stuff. So
I have one more question. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
no, that's
I just, and maybe this is a question for Mike too, but what about our airport? How are we doing? I know the
airport is
employments were
doing good.
down.
So
How are we doing?
employments have been down a little bit.
And it's because of the schedule.
A lot. Our airport problems are mostly carrier problems that we don't have anything to do with.
The elephant in the room is that early fly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole deal.
They need
Is
there
they're
any-
going to remodel, right?
Yeah, they've
They're-
got. There's money for
ready to do
expansion.
that?
They've got a grant for expansion.
Do that, right?
Yeah.
It's ready to
Yeah.
start,
In
right?
fact, it should be.
That'll
help?
be helpful.
Attract another carrier, maybe?
It should, because we're going to actually expand. What does the waiting room, the holding area now is?
It's only like 40.
It's only like 40 to 50 people.
Yeah.
This will actually expand it to, I think, over 200 people.
Yeah. So at least
It's going to add restrooms, but it is going to allow for bigger carriers to be able to come in because we can accommodate those passengers.
A game changer, right? And that early flight, that's what we need.
That's what we need.
Yeah,
Early
that
flight
early-
so we can make connecting flights. I mean,
Yeah.
because I would love to fly out of Cedar Moore. You have to go to
can't.
St. George to
Can't.
do a connector or Vegas, and it's
Right. And that's every airport board meeting. That's a
all we talk
conversation.
about.
I mean, that's all we talk about in airport board. Yeah.
We have the runway. We have the second biggest runway.
Yeah.
Well,
Utah.
we have one of the one of the nicest airports in
And
Utah.
I love our airport.
So
Well, and we're fortunate around the country. Many smaller airports are really struggling because the carriers are pulling out. But I think the proactive steps that the airport board and the folks have taken will really help. That and the big long runway.
The fuel costs have got to be hurting us.
and
too,
pilots
and pilots and
those kinds.
employees and
And here we have an aviation school, so we are part of the answer.
yes, yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's just a matter of
And because SUU buys so much fuel, our fuel costs are a little lower.
Oh,
than everyone else
really?
Because
Well, that's nice.
and so without SUU there, I think we'd probably be in more of a hurt.
Wow.
But they're really contributing to the economics of the airport.
Well, and I would argue that the airport approach ties in with everything Maria is doing, which is to say the lows aren't as low simply because we're more diversified in our tourism and the way we run those things. I don't think that's spoken of enough.
Well, and in the TRT and the TRCC, the airport always comes in, always has an application, and they've always been able to show a good return on investment. And so when it comes time to make those decisions on those boards, the airport's that's always a no-brainer. We're going to support them with their advertising asks and trying to, make it aesthetically pleasant.
yeah, because we've taken TRCC and invested in all of that all the furniture, all of everything that's in the airport right now.
Oh, wow.
The TVs, comes from the TRCC.
Oh, wow.
So, because that airport was looking pretty run down, and so we were able to provide them with some funding that way, and then
Facelift,
a facelift, which was needed,
which is a big deal
and then
for folks.
and then we've been providing them with the advertising dollars, as he said, so that which is helping us because we could be closing, like other airports. So it's going to be a minute, I think, but
When does
people are
that
working on
start?
it.
Do you know when the renovation starts?
Tyler didn't say
I haven't, no, but we have board meeting Thursday coming up, so
So
Find
I'm
out.
sure we'll talk. I'm sure that'll be the topic of discussion. So
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
All right, commission reports. Who wants to go first?
Oh, you got Southwest
Oh, whoops!
Tech.
Did I miss?
Brennan.
Oh, Brennan. All right, Brennan. I overlooked you.
No worries. And I think, John, do you have that PowerPoint? Did you get that from? You should have it. If not, you'll miss really cool pictures. But we can go on.
Oh, we want pictures.
So while John's looking for that, this morning we did a really fun event at Southwest Tech. So we have a new firefighter program. We also have paramedic, EMT, and advanced EMT. And because of the anniversary of 9/11, they did a mile walk with all their gear on. And so it was really fun to kind of see the students get out and participate. And A mile doesn't sound long, but if you're in full gear,
It's a long ways.
It's a lot of weight, and it's tiresome. So it was fun to see them want to get involved. But things are really going well at Southwest Tech. I'll just keep going, and then if we can grab that PowerPoint, that's great. I mentioned our new programs this year. Firefighter, we're on our second cohort of firefighter. Paramedic is a longer program. It's more than a year long, so we have one cohort a year. We also got funding to start a second practical nursing cohort, and so we'll now do 2 of those a year, so about 20 students per cohort. So we're really pushing out about 40 practical nurses a year. A majority of those PNs go on to get their RN, either at SUU, Utah Tech, or Weber. And so there's some pathways into an RN that's really exciting, and we're working even closer with SUU to make that even more seamless moving forward. And then we also just got funding for surgical technologist. So IHC reached out to us about 4 months ago and said, we really need more surge techs. And we told them about the process of funding. Usually takes about 2 years to go through the whole process. But we went through a grant through Talent Ready Utah. We were able to get that money almost within 3 months of them talking to us for the first time. And so we'll start that program in January. So we're going to remodel a lab and part of a classroom so we can have a surgical technology program, which is really exciting. One thing that's new this year, and I bring this up, I brought this up last time, but I like talking about it again because repetition really is the key to learning, and I think people listen really, really well at these types of meetings. So we changed the way we do our tuition. So in the past, we were $2 per credit per hour. And that confused a lot of students because most students coming up through the ranks, they hear about credits at our degree-seeking partners at the universities. And they always say, well, what does that mean per hour and how many credits do I get? And we didn't offer credits because we were not a credit-bearing institution. So over the past year, we've transitioned with the help of the entire system office. We're now a credit-bearing institution, just like SUU, just like the University of Utah. So instead of saying you pay $2 per hour, you now pay $95 per credit, and then people can at least wrap their heads around that a little bit better. And most courses are anywhere from 12 credits up to 30 credits, depending on the course. And so it just resonates with students better and with parents when they know exactly how many credits they're earning. And that's new to tech schools around the state. And so that's been a really big improvement. And it also allows us to do more hybrid and online programming. Before that, we were restricted because of our accreditation body. Now we can do that, and we're offering already more programs in our outlying areas more than we ever have in the past.
Brennan, it wants, it says I need permission. I don't know if there's anything on your end, on your Google Drive that allow you to grant that permission.
I sent that. I forget her name. Who I
Chanel.
sent it to, and she forwarded it on. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. I can send you the PowerPoint just so you can kind of see it later, but
Okay.
there shouldn't be a permission on there.
Okay.
It went from PictoChart to Google to PowerPoint to PDF. So that's
Somewhere along the line that wants me to have permission from you.
okay. Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
I'll describe these really cool graphs because this slide, it talks about the growth of Southwest Tech over the last 5 years. And what's new is what's called annual full-time equivalent. So tech colleges are hard to compare with degree seeking because we have so much headcount, but not necessarily a lot of membership hours. So 900 membership hours is considered a full-time equivalent. So you might have a student that comes for phlebotomy and they take 110 what's considered hours. And so people are like, well, what does that mean as an FTE? So the new legislative body is looking at how are you growing from an FTE equivalent? And we've seen some really good significant growths. And then our COE program headcount is more than doubled since 2019. That's our accredited programs. So that's our firefighter, our nursing programs. About 3 years ago, we decided that we were going to eliminate some of the programs that were not pathways into an adult certificate. Even though some of them were important and they were fun for the high school students, if they didn't lead into a certificate, we made that decision to remove those from our programming. And it allows us to put funds towards those that are COE and certificate. We also have seen an increase in overall total headcount, And our retention rates this last year was 78% for full-time students, 71 for part-time. And if you look at some of the national trends across the country, when you look at your universities, your retention rates are in the 30s, 40s, 50%. So being in the 70s is actually a very, very high number. We have some really unique partnerships that are new. We have a new Paiute Indian Tribe scholarship. So through the June Thorley Foundation, we have a scholarship that's hopefully going to last us about 5 years. So for every member of one of the 5 bands that comes, there's a scholarship available to them. And we really worked hard with that. The state of Utah is trying to work with all institutions of higher education to make access very affordable to the tribes throughout Utah. Everyone's heard about the University of Utah. If you're an Indian tribe within the state of Utah, you have free tuition at University of Utah. And even the smaller schools are trying to find partners to do something very similar. It's not as easy for us to find partners with deep pockets, but I think we found something that will at least get us through the next really 4 to 5 years and move forward with that, and that's really, really exciting. It's hard to see. I'm just gonna point this up. It's meant to be small. What that is our financial aid by program. And if you can't really see the details, but what that means is we're really spreading out that to every program at Southwest Tech. I'll share with you just some of the percentages. So automotive technology, of our scholarships, 7% go to those students, 8% culinary, 5% firefighter, medical assistant, 11%, practical nursing, 8%, software development and IT, truck driving are all in the 4%. So we don't have a lot of money flowing just specifically to one area, even though when we ask donors, are you specific about a program? Some say, yes, I absolutely want to do practical nursing, and some say I want to do automotive. And it really spreads out. Even when we ask people to put their money where they would like, it spreads out very evenly across our over 20 programs, which is really exciting. So last year, so this is 2021 to 2022, our concurrent enrollment. I use that term, even though in the world of technical colleges, concurrent enrollment is not the same thing as what you would find at SUU. So at a concurrent enrollment for us, because people know that term, they understand that as a high school student taking a university course. Well, for us, it's actually them coming to our programs and going into our technical classrooms and really getting their hands dirty and getting involved. But what's really exciting over the past 3 years, and this really is the first year that we started our IGP work with you. Again, you're not going to be able to see this very well, but you can see this line and all of a sudden it really jumps up. That's the year we started our IGP program in partnership with you at the county. What that means is tuition saved. So last year, for those high school students that came over early and started to take a program while still in high school, again, they don't pay tuition, but it's those fees that really keep them back. So they have a scholarship program through your IGP initiative that allows them to apply for and say, well, I can cover tuition because it's only $20 for a semester, but I can't pay the $300 in fees. And $300 will keep people out of a program if you fall within that demographic. So just last year, they saved $100,000 in tuition. That's what they would have paid in tuition had they come after their high school and they weren't getting that tuition for free. The 5-year total that they've saved is $312,943. So it's really working. As you can see, it's increased significantly over the last 3 years. What that means is students are taking advantage of education right now where they're not paying tuition, and if they can't cover the fees, there's a scholarship application that allows them to jump into a program. And our goal is to get as many of them through a program as possible. Some programs they can get through 100%, medical, clinical assistant, nursing assistant. Automotive's too long, but they can get through a big chunk of it while in high school. Just for example, again, 415 students in the last full fiscal year, over 50,000 clock hours, and you're still going to hear that term because on the back end, that's how accreditation and your funding for even like federal financial aid, it's tracked both in hours and credits. So even though we're credit bearing now, we'll always confuse you with hours as well. So I apologize in advance. And the average length was 185 hours. And of that last year's class, 51 of those actually graduated with a certificate before they graduated high school. And you can always stop me as we go. I've got a slide that doesn't make sense if you don't see it, but just some student highlights. So I'm just going to call them out. So we went to a HOSA state competition for a number of years, and HOSA is really your health sciences. A lot of people understand what Skills USA is. Skills USA is your technical programs where they go compete in welding and automotive, culinary arts. HOSA is your medical and your health profession competitions. So we went to state, and 6 students that were able to place high enough where we went to internationals in Texas. And we took a number of places, but we actually had our first place international HOSA student, which is really, really cool. We have robotics competitions, Skills USA. We had a bronze in culinary. And what was really unique, I think, out of all of them was that one of our students, a lot of people heard about there was a bus driver that was driving a bus for the county and had a medical emergency this past year. The first person to help that driver was one of our EMS students who was a high school student taking EMS. And so they started CPR before the ambulance even showed up. And they had just learned the week before CPR in their high school class at the Tech. And so Intermountain Health came down, and they have what's called a challenge coin that they give out to people, first responders that go above and beyond. And so they gave that challenge coin to one of our students this past year. And then I'm going to show you this. We'll send you the slides afterwards. This is timely completion. So timely completion means if a program is a year, they're timely completed if they graduate within a year and a half, because there are things that come up, life circumstances, whatever it might be. So the Department of Education, the state of Utah says you're a timely completer if you graduate in 150% of that marketed time frame. It's hard to see, but there are 8 technical schools in the state of Utah. And as you can see, that one that's in blue, we have the highest timely completion 2 out of the last 3 years, and we typically are above. So we're in the 70 to 75%, and you've got some schools that are in the 40% in timely completion. And what's really unique is your underserved populations are typically fall below that. Southwest Tech is one of the few schools in the country where underserved population is completing in a more timely fashion than our more regular or all students. And I'm just going through a couple more that don't make sense without seeing them. So that's my presentation, but I'd love to answer any questions that you have about Southwest Tech.
I don't know that I have any questions, but you guys are awesome. I've got, I've both of my sons, and I've said before, my youngest son got a certificate in the welding program. He's currently in the EMS program.
Okay.
My older son went through both the basic and the advanced EMS, and now instructs for you guys and works for Gold Cross and is working on applying to medical school. And,
Okay, awesome.
yeah, you guys have serviced our family really well.
Good, glad to hear that.
My daughter's actually taking welding classes too, and she's still in high school. So
Yeah, very good. My freshman took welding last year, and now she's moving on to the nursing side of things, which is really cool. It's fun to have kids have an opportunity as a freshman or sophomore to do something and say, okay, that was neat, but it's not what I want to do. And my daughter never thought about health professions, and then we went to an open house, and she saw what was going on with our nursing, and she's like, okay, now I want to do that. Yeah, thank you for the comment.
yeah, we appreciate it.
We met Friday as the Intergenerational Poverty Board, and one of the great things about Southwest Tech is it's kind of the hallmark of what we've been able to use and springboard from. It provides so many opportunities for youth that otherwise wouldn't have a lot of hope for. I remember when I was a kid, it was like, oh, go to college. Well, okay, now everybody can figure that out, or not everybody can afford to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
You can make S-Tech work.
Yeah.
You show up and you try, you're going to be able to get a certificate and get a good job.
Well, and what I love about being the president is when you see students come in that first couple days, and usually they don't have the confidence or they're not sure what they want to do, and they may have not necessarily have done as well in high school, but they were not motivated. We actually motivate them in a different way, and all of a sudden they're doing math that they never did in high school. They're doing things that are way more complicated than they ever did in high school. We just teach it in a different way, and they see the real application of that. And at Southwest Tech, we're now getting the best of the high school students, where 10 years ago it was kind of like, well, go there if you don't make it
Right.
at somewhere else. But now we're seeing the best and brightest from all over the state. So we have people from 22 different counties. We have 88 students that come from out of state, and we have 3 international students this past year.
You know,
So
that's,
we're bringing people in from all over.
that's
right
such
now.
a good point. I mean, Mike's son's looking at doing, medical. I've got a son who did the welding program, and he's looking at doing dental. But he had a great job offered right out of high school
Yeah.
from doing the welding, and
Yeah.
so it's just a tremendous opportunity for kids.
I think every
everybody.
dentist should take welding because they're really good with their hands. So,
Exactly.
Yeah, they won't hurt your jaws much if they know.
That's awesome.
Right.
Thank you, Brennan.
Oh, thank you.
Brennan.
Thank you for your
Sorry,
support.
I knew you were up. I was
Oh, no,
asking
you're
so many
fine.
questions of Maria, and then I looked at the time and thought she was last.
Well, that IGP funds that the county uses, you could see in that graph that as soon as that hits, the amount of money that's being saved by the Iron County state taxpayer is significant. $300,000 in 5 years, $100,000 just last year. So it's being utilized, and students that otherwise that wouldn't be taking any classes, they're there because of that funding from the county. So I thank you very
It's a
much. for
direct
that.
benefit for those
Absolutely.
guys. Yeah.
Yep.
So the return on investment's been good.
Absolutely. Yep. You can see it very well in the numbers, and it's only trending up.
Okay. Thank you very
Great.
much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brendan.
All right, now we'll go to committee. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I just have a couple of things. I'll be really quick. Well, I wrote them down. I talked before about Brian had communication issues with public safety up there. We've met a couple of different times now with George Colson, our emergency manager, Dan Benson, the chief, and Brian Head, and several representatives from Utah Communication, whatever it is, UCA Authority, Utah Communication Authority. We've met twice now, looking at service area maps, and we are solidly on their to-do list to get another repeater up there that'll better cover the city of Brian Head and down the canyon. So that's the squeaky wheel's getting the grease. It's working out really well. Just the fair. The fair was super successful. Lots of great comments. The vendors were good. It was just a really successful fair. Really a lot of thanks to the volunteers that really make that happen. It was just a fun weekend. You couple the fair with the Home Builders Association Parade of Homes, and it's always just a really great weekend. Numbers were up with the home builders and visitation of their homes, and so that's always that brings folks into the community to look at local craftsmen, and they eat lunch and spend money here. So that's always a really good thing. The Southwest Livestock Show was this last weekend. That's just such a cool event. My son, one son participated in sheep as younger. This year, my daughter had a lamb. It's just cool to watch those kids work so hard for months and months and months to earn a little bit of money for education or whatever at the end, and it brings people together. I don't know how many people were there. I mean, it's
A lot.
It's standing room only in that barn. We have participants from Beaver, participants from Lincoln County. So again, it brings people into our community and helps us with our hotels and our restaurants, and it's super successful. It's just fun. And we talk about this every time, but as far as jail planning and things like that, I mean, hours and hours and hours go into that every week. And we spend a lot of time on that. I'll just quick.
Well, and I had a lot the same, but I had on the 29th, I had a weed board meeting. We lost Casey Adams, which was our weed supervisor, and Lance Halderman, that has been with him for quite a few years too. I think he's not. They're saying he probably won't come back either. So we've got to revamp that. We've got to work on that, and we are mandated to have a weed supervisor, and we would like to do a lot more mapping. Paul Nelson is our weed board president, and there's others in the community that we work on that. But during budget hearings, we will be talking about how we go forward with that, because it's really an important program that we have here in the county. All the counties are mandated to do that. On the 31st, they had the another one of the jail meetings. My mother passed away that day, and I just wanted to thank Paul and Mike for excusing me, and I'd like to thank so many people that sent out condolences, and I just appreciate all of their well wishes. And she was 95 and, you know, had a great life. My dad had passed away a year and a half before, and so she wanted to go, but it's still hard to see him go. But I just wanted to tell everyone thanks that reached out to me. There was hundreds of people, and I appreciate that so much. I'll run over the fair a little bit too. Thanks to Susan Blackner, Jamie Evans, Brad Benson, and Debbie Grimm, our folks that run the fair. That's a big deal. That fair takes a lot of work, and it's the PRCA Rodeo Committee. They put in tons and tons of work on that. Of course, the vendors. We had a new thing at the fair, the ag building, that new building that we built for storage. We put the ag folks in there, the Farm Bureau, and the hay and wool competition. We had a new gal, and I can't remember her name. She just barely came on with the extension office, and she was brand new, so that was a little bit much for her. But by next year, I'm sure she'll be up to snuff, and we'll just go forward. Of course, the exhibit building and all of that. But thank you to all the volunteers and all of those that participated. It was a great event. Of course, we had the big rainstorm on Friday night, and Brad Benson and his crew came in, removed all the soup, was really what it was. It was mud, and brought in new dirt. It was really amazing that they was able to do it. And the PRCA rodeo company was just so impressed that we were able to get that up and going, so that we were able to go ahead and have the fair. The junior livestock show was awesome, like Mike said. The kids, I don't think there was a kid in there that sold any of their animals for less than $1,000. Most of them were much more than that. Even on the hogs and the lambs and the goats, they were all over $1,000. And there was the steers that were over $4,000. That goes into those kids' savings accounts usually for college or other things so it's a great program. And like Mike said, the work that they put into them is just really amazing. I had two granddaughters that were involved in that, and they did very well. One of them won showmanship in goats, and so that was really fun for her. And market, she placed in market too, but of course, the same time, the Great American Stampede, the SUU Rodeo, and the Lions Club Rodeo was going on at the same time, and two great big huge events going on at the same time at the Cross Hollow Event Center is a lot. We are out of room, and we have asked the Cedar Livestock Association to maybe allow us to use another 10 acres on the north side of that property. I talked to Sandy Webster, that's the president of that right now, and I hope that we can get some cooperations, because we really they didn't want to give it. They had already given property from before, but we would hope that they would allow us to just clear that and let us have more parking in that area, because that would make a big difference in that. But that's all I had.
Okay. Yeah, and I failed to mention the passing of Marilyn's mother. I just wanted to give you our condolences. Again, we did that in the last meeting, but I forgot to this morning, and I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
And
the funeral is on Saturday. I forgot to say that. This coming Saturday in St. George at Metcalf Mortuary.
thank you.
What time?
11 for the viewing and 1 for the service.
I just have a few things. We had our UAC board meeting. It was held over to Bryce Canyon with the USAC conference. I didn't end up attending that. I couldn't make it this year. I was sorry I couldn't, but I did Zoom into the UAC board meeting on the Wednesday night. I had some good discussion there. I thought the jail meeting was productive. I appreciated the public coming out to that and expressing their thoughts and feelings on that. We've got our 5 county meetings this week, and those are open to the public. Anybody that would like to come to that. We have behavioral health. It's on Wednesday at 10 o'clock, and then we have our human health at noon. I think that's right, isn't it, Nate? I believe that's right. I'm not looking at my times, but then we've got I've had a lot of, just to echo what these two commissioners said about the fair. I've had a lot of compliments on our parking, the fencing, just the way it looks, the seating. I'm so glad we were able to remove that old structure and have the new seating put in. It's just, I was so worried about safety with that, and so grateful we were able to get all that done, and especially before prices really went crazy. That was a good thing. Like Mike said, the Parade of Homes is an awesome event. They had great turnout on that. And then one last thing I just wanted to mention, we had the National Day of Service on Saturday. My family, just my wife and my daughter, went up and helped pull weeds and fix and paint, and it was a fun project. I was reminiscing while I was there working. It was 27 years ago that my 3 boys that were very little at the time, we were up there putting out all the upright posts in.
That's a Discovery Park, right?
Discovery Park. What'd I say?
You
Part
just didn't say.
Yeah. I thought I said Park Discovery, but
yeah.
But anyway, it was a fun opportunity. That's a great thing in the country where they do the service projects, and the Cedar North Stake, that was the project they took on, was that park, and it still looks really good for being that many years old. So that's all I had. We will go ahead and let's take just a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll resume our meeting at 4:15.
I'm just going to make sure that it comes through. Well, Jared had to go to a meeting, so he normally would do this in the background. I just want to make sure. I've swapped it, and it should be fine, but right here, I'm not seeing it yet.
Would it help if we got online to see if it was live on the?
So that's what I'm doing. We're good.
Good. Okay. All right. Thank you. We've worked through some technical difficulties. I think we've got the vendor here, and hopefully in the background with a lot of programming and like firmware updates, and hopefully we're in a lot better shape than we were. So we will resume our meeting and go to our public hearing section of the agenda, which is item number 1, public hearing, discussion and possible approval of a proposed zone change from residential half-acre R1 half to residential 4,000 square feet R4K for approximately 20 acres within the description that's listed in the agenda. And this is near 2675 West Mid-Valley Road, Cedar City, Utah. Applicant is BC Development, care of Chris Archibald. Reed.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is our first zone change of this new zone, the R4K zone. You'll recall about a little over a year ago, we created this new zoning category or zoning district that would provide for more opportunity for more affordable housing. This is allows for 4,000 square foot lots. That's the R4K. And it has quite a few parameters with it. This particular project and parcel qualifies. It is between 5 and 20 acres. It's available with water and sewer, good transportation infrastructure, all of the things that we plan to do with the zone and its purpose are met by this project. And so today is just the zone change, and then we have the first phase of the subdivision on the agenda for the October Planning Commission meeting. So hopefully it can go on that agenda because we get the zoning correct. But this property is located just in the north side of the valley off of Mid-Valley Road. This is a zoning map that shows that the property where the star is what we're looking at rezoning, which is part of the master plan. You can see here that the Peak View master plan where the hatched area is what we're looking at rezoning. This was phase 7 and 8 or something of the Peak View master plan. And you can see the other phases starting in the very top right corner or the northeast corner was phase 1 and then phase 2 and phase 3 just went down, phase 4 to the south, and then we had phase 5 to the right in the middle, and then phase 6 is the little portion. There still has some additional phases for Peak View to go on further south than what they've got there. But these properties are taken out of that now of the master plan for Peak View and put into what now is being called Sage Meadows, I think, master plan for these two phases in this R4K zone. So they're looking maybe not at the exact 4,000 square foot. They're looking at more to 6,000 to 8,000 square feet, but they think that they can put a very similar product that what they've got on these half-acre lots on these 6 to 8,000 square foot lots and have a nice 2,000 square foot home with some landscaping and still accommodate the things that they want and reduce the price by about half of what the lots are in these other phases. And that was the intent. That's what we were looking for. That's what we were trying to get to. And so we're excited about the prospects of this project. So, as you're aware, this is just a draft layout for what we would be looking at as they develop that. You're aware that, and you'll recall in the preparation of this zone, we have additional off-street parking required. There's open space and park space required. They've accommodated that, and I think that they'll be able to do that in this project. As you're aware, what we look for in zoning is feasibility. We're not looking at the specific project, but that it's feasible to do and meet the intent of the ordinance, and we believe that it can do that. Planning Commission recommended approval for this, and we, as we've gone through the ordinance, believe that it is feasible to take care of all of the issues related to this with the higher density because of central water, sewer, good transportation, open space, parking, and drainage is a big concern in this development. And
Will you talk about that a little more?
The drainage
Show that.
on the master plan for the whole subdivision, when it was originally, I don't know if this cursor will show through here.
Is the Stevensville ditch to the west of this?
The Stevensville ditch is to the
Or is it to the east?
to the east.
East.
Of it,
Runs.
okay.
Yeah, it's actually
Is
Right-
that where
right
all
there,
of this?
right next to that, isn't it?
It's just
no. It's further east.
okay.
This is further west. There's property
Right.
in between here, and let me go back to the Stevensville ditch runs right here.
Right. Okay. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Just crosses Mid Valley right there.
Yeah.
And is that all? Are all those subdivisions designed to dump into that?
No, they can't get back. It drains to the west here and to the north. And so what we're trying to figure out right now with this development, they're doing some retention basins in the design here. You can see that at the bottom here, this would be, this would be a retention basin, right? Well, this is a retention basin right here, the retention basin right here. And with the other subdivision phases, let me go back. There is also retention that's being improved and the inlets to those retentions. And when it was originally master planned, the intention was to drain everything to the north across Mid Valley. But since then, you know, and the old mentality was that we'd just move the water on to the next property because it's just vacant and there's nothing there. Well, since this started, we've had Buena Vista, Rancho Bonita Phase 2. We've had Painted Desert Phase 1 with master plan for Phase 2 and 3 that took up all of the space where this would drain. So now we're trying to figure out how to get it to the west, retain what's
Mid-Valley's
there.
too high to drain over at all.
Right, but there can be a storm drain put under, and we can get it to the west and out to Lund Highway and then north. So we're working on, and Rich is aware, and we're going to have to continue to request help to get a master drain plan, you know, and hopefully within the next year or two we can get that. But we've been working on some of the smaller components of how they can come together, and we can take it out into a larger region. But we do need to spend more time and attention on drainage because the mentality of the past has just been there's plenty of room out there and it's agricultural and it can go somewhere, and it goes in the existing irrigation ditches and on these other fields, and that's where it's always gone, and that's where it will always go. And as the development continues to fill in, that's no longer a viable option, and we need to be thinking better in relation to that.
What are we
So-
doing though, Reed? Would it be possible to put a big pipe in going east to catch?
Yeah, that's what we'll be looking at.
And is this the time to
Well-
call time out and say you guys have to do that?
Well, that's part of what will come with the design work in this master plan for the rest of the Peak View development, and with this one as to how the drainage gets resolved.
Wouldn't that
And
make
Rich
more
is
sense
working
to
with
run
Platt
it-
and Platt, who is their engineers, on figuring out how to do that.
Wouldn't it make more sense to do that, to run it, even though it's a little more difficult?
not east. It's got to go west.
I know, but the Stevensville ditch is east. But if they put a large drain and ran it in our right of way, there's not enough fall to the bottom of that channel to take that
Discuss
water.
Rich?
Well, that would be a challenge. We tried to run it east. We are at such an elevation change. We would come in under the Stevensville ditch.
Okay. I'm just in my mind. It's so flat out there,
think we've
and
looked at
and that's
it.
pretty
It's gotta
deep.
go
That's a
west.
pretty deep channel. That could you get enough grade to?
Yeah, we all the way back to the Stevensville ditch, which is on the other side of 2300.
Right.
That ditch is about, well, right there. We know what it is
What is it, 8
because
feet
that's
deep?
where the 4800 crosses, and that's a box culvert. That's 8 feet high.
Right.
So we are well below out here at Peakview, 8 feet in elevation.
Drops that much.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
It doesn't
there's-
seem
there's
like
more-
Kind of, yeah, because then from there it kind of goes up to the west, and it's a little deceptive.
Yeah, we have, and in this subdivision, we have, somewhere along the line, we missed the point that Phase 3 needed a detention pond, and that detention pond is not far enough to the north, the one that is on that route right there. There's the detention pond. And as you see where that is located, there's 25 lots to the north of that detention pond. What they do is they build up against the 4800.
Which
and
is
then they
too
try to-
tall.
Pardon
Yeah.
me?
Which is too high.
Which is much
Very-
higher.
much higher.
And we get 2 to 3 feet of water there. And in addition to that, along that back line is the old Webster ditch, which picks up the water out of the subdivision to the east and south, which has no detention pond. And so it all piles up right there. And in fact, this last couple of storms, what little bit does cross 4800, because there is a small culvert there, totally filled the detention pond, which is just north of Bona Vista, which actually, well, I don't know what it is today, but as of last Friday, it was only down 2 or 3 feet, and it's 10 feet deep. And so it still has 7 feet of water in it. I did want.
So is it a retention basin or a detention basin?
The retention.
Retention, which
Well-
holds it.
Well,
Not
well, when I
detention lets
think-
it out
I
slowly.
try to remember it this way: detention is like when the officer pulls you over, he detains you but lets you go. Retention is when he incarcerates you and you are stuck there. So these are
A
all.
lot of experience with that, Rich?
Pardon me.
Do you
So-
have a lot of experience with
Experience.
That's my experience.
Yes, with detention.
Okay.
retention. So these are detention ponds because they
They don't
are
go out.
designed to allow them to continue to flow. Yeah.
Well, they don't have overflows, though.
No, these are yeah.
They're retention. The idea in the past was retention because they didn't have an outlet. And
Yeah.
the idea was, but we handle the storm drain off of a 100-year storm off of those properties. It didn't account for kinds
Inflow.
of monsoons that we're having, and once they're full, we get the second storm because they can't evaporate fast enough. So they don't have outlets on them. So they are
But
retention.
back to your question, Commissioner, if about piping. If we piped it west towards Lund Highway, there's actually a rise between this subdivision and Lund Highway, but otherwise it is almost the same elevation when you're at point A, which is Three Peaks, and point B, which is the inlet of Lund Highway or where it would flow. It's just that small hump. So, you know, with a 4-foot culvert, 5-foot culvert, you could straighten it out
on it
and
west.
run it, and not have to mess with the road elevations or anything else. Just the ditching along there.
So to Paul's point, I mean, much of the north side of Mid Valley Road there, 4800, is developed, but there is a bit still on the south side, even though it is privately held. that hasn't been developed. You've got the radio station and some of those other parcels. I mean,
Well, and one of the things we're looking at,
Would
you
it be
can see
possible?
on this old map, from the
right.
reason I pull
Yes,
this up
that's
is
a
from Stevensville
ditch.
ditch about right here, there was a head gate that pulled the irrigation water out that went across, well, it was just actually a little further south down here. And it pulled the water out and ran across here and through the Mid-Valley subdivision. And the reason that road is like that is because there was an irrigation ditch right there that ran through there that they vacated since then, and that went right on across this property, and that's how everything drained out across there. You can kind of see that. When this master plan came in, they tried to, originally it had that retained through there, and then they amended that when they said we can handle it with these retention basins that we're putting in here, and convinced the county that that could go away. We may live to regret that, but now everything else has been subdivided through here where there's not the option to be able to continue that. But I think there is an option to consider this back part that hasn't been developed and this new stuff to maybe still take some of it that way, that we will look at as we get subdivision designs and things like that. But that doesn't help with what's already developed that goes north.
I was just thinking there's an opportunity still for storm drainage until that gets developed on the south side of Mid-Valley.
This property is for sale.
Okay.
And I have reached out, we sent them a letter last week addressing this because of this concern here at 4800. I reached out to them and indicated we would like to have a discussion, because if we could widen the Stevensville ditch just before it gets to 4800 and make a shallow retention basin to the east of
Peakview.
Peakview, we would be able to perhaps take care of what boils up and builds up at the end of the street going on to 4800, and capture enough out of the Webster ditch that we're dealing with the upstream flow. The good news is the Webster ditch stops at Five Town, so we're not collecting anything above Five Town.
Upstream from there.
Yeah.
Did that new that work that you did going into that pond,
Yes, that's
did that
successful.
help? Did it work?
But it still doesn't account for those 25 homes.
Right, on that other side, yeah. But it's working for the others.
Pretty much. I would say it's catching 98,
Oh, good.
96% of the water that is south of where we put that across the sidewalk.
Yeah.
But we've talked about, for a long time about imposing a stormwater impact fee. I mean,
We're there.
we need to do that.
Yeah.
We need to do that like yesterday so that
We
we
just
can.
don't
In
have
fact,
the-
last week I had a conversation with a consultant in Salt Lake that does a lot of the impact fee studies, and got some information. And what we need to do in order to have an impact fee study is to have an engineering plan with a capital facilities plan that identifies what structures need to be built and where they need to be, like a pipe going west and a retention basin and what the costs are. We can't really move forward with an impact fee study until we have a capital facilities plan and engineering to know what the costs of those improvements are going to be, so that we know how much to assess. And we need to do that county-wide because they're complicated nowadays. You have to spend the money within 6 years. You can only do so things that the people that are receiving the benefit are the ones who are paying, and so that's isolated. We can't just do a countywide storm drain impact fee, which would be nice, that we could use wherever. You can't do that. And so it's all specific to what areas are benefiting and improving, and we need the master plan in order to do that.
But could we implement that for these studies and for that, because there'll be a cost to that, what you're talking
Part
about,
of
the
cost
engineering
for the
and all of that?
engineering and study can be part of the impact fee, but that requires the study to know what that
much?
is and how much it's going to be, because you don't want to start an impact fee for the study and then another one for the improvement, and
I see.
it's just
I
too
see.
complicated.
Yeah.
So We are working on that and have talked to a couple of different companies that do impact fee studies, and they are, trying to help provide some information.
Do you feel like the retention basins they have planned in this new development are adequate?
I think they will be for this development itself, yes.
So it's self-contained, so
Yes.
we can feel good about approving this because they're going to hold their own water. They're going
Right.
to take care of their own runoff.
Right. They can retain.
But they are
what
retention,
have
so-
they are retention
Retention,
basins.
not
yeah.
detention.
And their hopes are to build those in the fashion of a park with grass that can is lower, depressed, that can be used as a play field, and then when it floods until the water goes away, then they can be able to retain those as usable.
So they'll
open
hold a fair
recreation
they'll hold a
space
fair
that
amount
can
of
hold the water. We're talking 20 acres here for
Right.
these two phases in this development. They can create that much for those areas.
we require
But
curb
we
and
can't-
gutter
but-
in these
Yes,
subdivisions.
there'll be curb, gutter, and sidewalk.
And they'll drain to those retention
That's correct.
basins.
Yep.
The other question I have is, we've got the county code where it says you need to build 18 inches above the crest of the street, right? The crown. Is that, do you
So
feel
are
like,
these new ones doing that
and-
above the?
and did they do that in the other phases to the east, these others
They
in
do.
Peakview?
That's
And
the
if they
reason
had,
they haven't had water in their basement.
they have not had
in their
problems
houses,
with
but
that.
it's getting
A lot of
close.
water.
It's running up their driveway, and had they not been,
which isn't the end of the world, as long as their home's high enough to where it
Yeah.
doesn't go inside of it. And so,
it's gotten close a couple of times. They've laid some sandbags out. It's scary, and we need to improve that situation for sure. We're not saying it's adequate, but we believe that it's feasible to solve this drainage for this particular subdivision with what they're doing in the subdivision.
because an area like this,
This is
do we need to go 2 feet instead of 18 inches? I mean, do we need to look at the problem areas and identify maybe some changes that are specific to an area?
Planning Commission. Yep.
I think we should look at that.
We have
So this new one will have open spaces. The other ones, do not.
That's correct.
And do they both have HOAs? No.
Yes.
This
Yes.
one has an HOA.
Uh-huh.
Both
They have HOAs.
Peak View too,
Uh-huh.
also. So
So with our
There's
top,
still some question as to whether this new, since it's a separate development now as Sage Meadows, whether they'll have their own homeowners association or whether they'll become part of Peakview
Oh.
Homeowners Association.
oh yeah.
We haven't
They just-
resolved that yet. They'll have.
The ordinance
they'll-
says they had to
they-
have one though.
Yeah, the ordinance requires one. Whether they do a separate one will live to be seen. We'll
Yeah.
address that when they come back with subdivision, because that's a requirement of subdivision.
Okay.
So,
one of the things we've talked to, I've talked to both the engineer and the developer, is those two retention ponds at the head of 4800 right now would then be able to tie into any drainage going to the west.
Okay.
We would pick them up and they would swap over from at a high point in there. When they began to reach a point, they would then become the detention.
Detention.
It'd go from retention to detention.
so with
But we really
the
need-
spillway would flow out into the street and down into the drain that we're going to install
well,
someday going to
I
the
would
west
think
or
we'd
whatever.
have to,
Under-
because of the height.
Might be
to
underground.
To the west, we'll probably carry it in a pipe.
Okay. And are they going to install that in anticipation of this pipe going west when they do their development? Because that would
Well,
seem to make
we're looking
sense.
at the western developments
What's
helping
that?
with that. The ones west outside of this.
But it would make sense for that development to do it while they've got everything torn up, and before they,
Their design and.
as
be
part of
able
their
to
design, and I think we
accommodate
should maybe
that.
require that, so that they have to put in their pipes before, so they're not tearing up streets and curb and gutter to put in later, to do some kind of, so the spillway exits to that master plan drain going to the west.
And they'll be able to do that.
That's what we'll have to require as they come back with subdivision. We say that's a.
That's, okay,
Right
so
now,
that
we're looking
western
at
street.
feasibility. Is it possible to do that?
you can do the zone change, but that,
Allows them to design and go forward knowing that that will be an obligation. And that's why it's good to have this discussion now, because we're saying it's feasible to do that, but here are our concerns and the things that will need to be addressed when they come back with subdivision.
okay.
Absolutely.
Just so it's on the record and they
Yeah,
know that
exactly.
this is, because we can't continue to
Drainage is a
this.
major
This is a
Big
problem
deal.
every year, and we can't continue to ignore it.
And one of the things that many people don't understand, over 50% of all flooding that FEMA pays for in this country happens outside of flood zones. 50% is rain induced. It's not source induced. And when I say source induced, means we know it's where it's coming from. It's coming from that river. It's coming from that stream. But rainstorms are becoming a real concern, especially in built-up areas. Because none of this high water is coming off of any of the Coal Creek or Church Creek.
It's
or
just a
anywhere to the-
downpour right there
It's a downpour.
immediately.
Yeah.
So that's an introduction.
Sorry, lots of questions.
It's good. It's all good. This is just a review that, we do have water. It's on the Central Iron County Water Conservancy District with hydrant suppression, fire suppression. It does have sewer through the central sewer systems. All of the things we talked here already about drainage and being able to accommodate that. So we haven't had any letters or any comments through the notification process, so we are ready for public hearing.
All right. So regarding agenda item number 1, we'll go ahead and open a public hearing. If you'd like to speak to this, please state your name and approach the microphone. Seeing no comments, we'll close the public hearing and wrap it up.
Again, this is just the sheet or the considerations that we have in evaluating for feasibility. We say, look, let's look at all these things and make sure that we can address them and that it is possible to do this type of development. And as we've done here, verbally in our discussion with drainage, we've done the same with all of these other considerations as well as we've looked at it with the Planning Commission and staff. So the Planning Commission recommended approval based on the ability that it could accommodate that, and I think we're ready for action.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I would move for approval of the proposed zone change from residential 1/2 acre R1/2 to residential 4,000 square foot R4K for approximately 20 acres, located near 2675 West Mid Valley Road, Cedar City, Utah, and there's the description. Any changes or anything with that, Reed?
Nope.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and just to comment, I'm excited for this 4K, R4K.
It's our first project. We're
It's
excited
awesome.
to see how well it works.
I think this is a
Yeah.
great step to affordable housing. And the lots are half the price as the ones
That's
to
what
the
they're
east.
hoping.
Or they're
If
hoping.
inflation doesn't continue
I
to
know,
up
I
higher,
know.
you go back 5 years and say it's half of that. Now it's going to be the same as what those were.
I know,
it's scary, but,
exactly.
And
yeah.
I also
Yes.
vote yes based on our discussion on drainage, that we're
Excellent.
going to take a serious look at these problem areas and start whatever we have to do to start.
Address them.
Thanks. Item number 2, public hearing, discussion, and possible approval of a proposed zone change from agriculture 20 acre A20 to commercial C for approximately 80 acres within the section described in the agenda. This is located near 5900 West, 4000 South, Cedar City. Jay Smith.
This property is located just down on the very south end of the map, out of Cedar Valley, off of the south side of Vandenberg Road, or 4000 South. This is the property. It's north half of an existing pivot currently, just off of that interchange. The current zoning right now is A20. You can see to the east is commercial. The yellow is currently commercial. And then there's some agricultural 20 around it, and an RA20 on the north side of the road there. Their interest is to try to, often commercial is done in advance of a project because they can't really and have no intention yet to subdivide because they really want to prepare it for a client to be able to come and say, okay, I want to put a hotel, or I need 5 acres, I need 30 acres, I need 2 acres. They don't really know at this point. And so Commercial is a little different in that regard. We don't have specifically a plan at this point. They just want to position it so that they can market as a commercial property. It's adjacent to the commercial. It's on the interchange corridor right there. It has good transportation access. Water is the biggest concern on this area in this project. There is no central water system. The Central Iron County Water Conservancy District doesn't have any services or anything down in that area. The Paiute tribe on the property just to where the Sinclair station is, and the Paiute tribe housing, some of the stuff that's in this area, they do have some central water system there. They've actually acquired this lot right here and part of this, I think this lot actually. Yeah, I think they've acquired both of these, the Paiute tribe, and they can serve those with their water system. The guy who bought this lot right here tried to get tied onto their water system, and they wouldn't. He couldn't get service from them. So the rest of this stuff for the commercial is going to be, the development is going to be driven on somebody's ability to come forward with a public water system. Any commercial operation like that would need a public water system, and there's just no other public water system down in that area.
So the tribe, the Sinclair, has their
Theirs
own?
is a public water system.
They
That's
drilled their own well and
water system, yes. Yep.
So any commercial development has to have their own private water system?
If it requires water,
right.
Storage
public,
units or something
doesn't
like
it?
that doesn't,
Right.
wouldn't, but
Just-
otherwise.
even just restrooms, they have to have a public water.
Yeah, it depends on how large it is, and what they are. The public water system threshold is often 25 people for 90 days. If it serves 25 people for 90 days, which doesn't take that much in a commercial operation, then it has to be a public water system. And so we just generally say, yes, commercial needs a public water system. Certainly down there for the kinds of things that they're looking for off of an interchange would require a public water system. Now, there's a couple of wells down there, and some of the other property owners that have some of those irrigation wells are looking at, because that property to the east of that is Judy Vandenberg Jensen's,
Yeah.
and the family property, and they have a well there that's actually being used to irrigate this property currently. And they're talking to the Water Conservancy District, and they're looking at the cost of converting that into a public water system because they've got additional commercial there too.
Yeah,
And
that's
Jay
what
Smith,
my
who bought this
question was.
parcel, is trying to figure out how to do that, and he's got water rights and whether they can go together and make an improvement in that well and make it a public water system. But in terms of the zone change and looking at feasibility, they know what they're up against, and it is feasible to do a public water system in that area. There are wells that can produce that kind of water. It's just a matter of them being able to do that and convert those. And so drainage is less of a concern here, even though it's always a concern. We can address it, but all of the other things are there. Sewer is another area that there's no sewer in this area, no central sewer, but they can do other systems, and there are all other alternatives for handling sewer on a commercial basis, and that has been done in Central Iron County, or DEQ and Southwest Public Health are aware of those and have talked to people about different projects here. We've had different interests further north of developing in commercial projects as well, and looking at bringing sewer down from the Westview Estates area and down Westview Drive, but it's fairly costly. So those are the things that are going to drive a project, is that infrastructure cost and being able to get it there. But as the Planning Commission believe that it's certainly feasible to have some commercial there, it's just going to take that infrastructure development. So that's really kind of what the crux of the discussion was for the Planning Commission.
All right, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing on agenda item number 2. Seeing no comments, we'll close the public hearing and wrap it up. Reed.
Again, considerations that have been explored and given as we've talked with the developer, the property owner, and the engineers, and being able to accommodate all of those things is feasible to do it with the things that we've talked about.
All right.
I'd move for approval of the proposed zone change from agriculture 20 acre A20 to commercial C for approximately 80 acres within the legal description provided near 5900 West, 4000 South, Cedar City, Utah.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Number 3, public hearing discussion and possible approval of a proposed preliminary subdivision, which is the Meadows Ranch East, Phase 2, 15 lots, approximately 76 acres within the description in the agenda. This is located near 800 South to 1000 South and 5300 West. Cedar City, J. Smith. is
This
the
property is an existing parcel just on the west side of Meadow Ranch East, and it was anticipated. You can see where the star is. Everything else around it was zoned or subdivided to 2-acre lots or larger, and this was anticipated as part of that development at one time. They even have a little road going in there. Now it's not a big road, and it's not a usable, county road, but that was all anticipated, and part of their water system was brought into that area, and their plan, and they've got the water rights and and got a letter from the Meadow Ranch subdivision water company system to tie into their system to provide fire flow and culinary water. And so that's where the water will come from out of that system. And that's why it's actually being named Meadow Ranch 3, Phase 2 and 3.
Because of the water.
Is because it is still part of that subdivision, and that's what they need to have in order to provide water to them. We learned that there was a lot just a little bit further west that wanted to tie onto that system, and they wouldn't let them because they'd changed the name, and it wasn't part of the Meadow Ranch. So they changed that to fix that so they could hook on. So that's why it's being called Phase 2, and it is essentially part of that water system and part of that area. The other considerations here is this is the parcel, just looking closer. The SUU farm is on the north side, and the drainage, the Quichapa drainage runs right down through here and turns and goes right here. So you're familiar with that, where that drainage goes for the Quichapa channel. So we've got some considerations here with having some additional width here to be able to accommodate how that will go through in the future. That'll all come with, again, we've talked to the engineers about that. It'll come with subdivision, but we believe that it can be accommodated with a number of lots. The only other consideration that was a bit of a challenge in this development is sewer. You can see that there's no sewer in this area. The sewer ends right here at the west edge of Westview Estates.
That's a lift station.
And there's a lift station right there. That's the low point. So in order for them to get sewer, they would have to bring it from this point over to the development, and the fall is fairly flat there. It's difficult. They'd have to also pump and come back. They could do that, but they opted to retain 5-acre lots, so they didn't have to, because they're outside of the distance.
Use septic. That's
septic
because of the
on
size of the
5
lot.
acres. Our requirement for Cedar Valley is that if you have at least 5, you have to have 5 acres to have septic. So because they're more than 150 feet times the number of lots in the subdivision to available sewer, they can still have septic. But it requires a minimum of 5 acres. That's why we could rezone the property. We talked a little bit about that, rezoning it to R5, but because it's existing R2 and it still accommodates larger lots than that, and then if sewer came in there in the future, they could split those possibly if they wanted, but it doesn't prohibit that right now, and so we didn't really feel there's a real reason to rezone the property. It accommodates what they want to do, and our ordinance is in place that requires the 5 acres for septic anyway, and so the subdivision proposal is to create 5-acre lots. And so that's what we're looking at. I just put this map to show where Phase 2 and where Phase 3 is. They're both 76 acres. They are both having this 14 lots. The other one's 15 lots. Or no, I got it backwards. This is 15 lots. The other one's 14 lots. But they are part of, just so that we can show why there's two there and they're very similar subdivisions, but this is the one that we're looking at. It's serviced all the way around it on 3 sides by county existing roads, and then the property line runs right down here. So there's a county road here to the west and serves the lots that would back up against this subdivision. But this is 1,000 south, 5,300 west, 800 south that are all county maintained roads. And so there's good transportation corridor through there. They will on this subdivision have an easement that they'll just do as a gravel road to serve the back of these lots and provide access through here. That's on that existing 2-track that's out there now that has some gravel on it, but it won't be a dedicated road and it won't be a public road. It'll
It'll be
a
private to those,
easement to provide
for
access
those
to the back of those
lots.
Yeah,
It's nice.
and it'll help with just a easement to run the utilities in as well, and that's how that's set up to work. So they'll have the water from the Meadows Ranch Water Company that has suppression for fire hydrants.
Do they have the appropriate water rights?
Have water rights, adequate
prior to
water rights.
1934?
The age for the water rights, the water company accepted those, and so we are good to go as far as.
So they are prior to 1934. And when you say they accepted them, do you know what?
With the knowledge of the fact that what they have to have, but see, their water company is a little different in that they're a public water system, you know. But yes, they are prior 1934
That's
with their older
important.
water rights, and
Yeah,
they have
okay.
to be good for 50 years under a county ordinance. You know, it's different than the Conservancy District and Cedar City, but they are at least 50. It's good for 50 years before they're at risk of being jeopardized. So everything else is there, I think. Unless you have any other questions, I'll move us along.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for item number 3, agenda item 3. Any comments? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and read.
The preliminary plat meets the qualifications of the ordinance, is in compliance. Planning Commission recommended approval for an R2 subdivision. Does not require curb, gutter, and sidewalk, but all of the roadways are already there. There is no. The only reason it couldn't be a minor subdivision off existing roads is it's more than 10 lots, and otherwise it could have been a minor subdivision. But unless there are any other questions, Planning Commission recommended approval. There is a variation. Had an extensive discussion about fencing on these lots and whether the subdivision itself needed to be fenced, how much livestock was in the area, whether there were livestock corridors and things that needed to be fenced. Purpose behind the fencing ordinance, or behind the fencing requirement in the subdivision ordinance, is it's a fence out state, and we want to make sure people are aware of that. But these are 5-acre lots. They're larger. There are some fencing in the perimeter, but it's just not an area that they've believed would warrant or require perimeter fencing on the subdivision, given that each of those lots are probably going to want to fence their own properties anyway.
Yeah.
All right,
Ready?
entertain a motion.
I'll move for approval of the proposed preliminary subdivision, Meadows Ranch East, Phase 2, 15 lots, approximately 76 acres, with the description there, and located near 800 South to 1,000 South, 2,300 West Cedar City, with the variation of the fencing.
5,300.
Oh, sorry, 5,300 West.
Second.
And moved in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Item number 4, public hearing, discussion, and possible approval of a proposed preliminary subdivision, Meadows Ranch East, Phase 3, 14 lots, approximately 76 acres within the description outlined in the agenda. And this is located near 1525 South, 5300 West to 5700 West. Applicant Jay Smith.
We had a lot of the discussion for this phase on the subsequent action. You can see on the map here, this is the parcel that's just a little further west and further south. This borders on 5700 West, which is the belt route. And there was proposed originally that road you can see on phase 3 does go through right now and connect into to 5700. We believe that in the best interest of transportation for the future on the belt route, that this road, this proposal should have a cul-de-sac and not go out onto 5700, because that would eliminate one more access point that we want to reduce the number of accesses on the belt route. So they would have a cul-de-sac length that would require variation because it's longer than the standard cul-de-sac, but it has good transportation around it. I was just showing here the north side of it is 1400 south. So this will require the subdivision road to be improved to asphalt pavement as the standard for that. And there will be an asphalt paved road that takes access to these lots. And so the northern lots have access off of 1400 south. The south edge of this property is the Church Creek drainage channel that goes to Quichapa. So we've left adequate, and there's a setback off of there, an easement for drainage and retaining that basin on the south side as well. So,
And for our maintenance of the channel.
for maintenance of the channel. Mm-hmm.
And that's our, what is that, Rich, 100 feet is from the center?
Feet to the structure, 75 feet to fences and outbuildings.
Okay, right, okay.
From the center of the channel.
And that's called out on the plat here too. So,
That's on the south side, right?
runs right along the south side of the property right here, and you can see this is a drainage easement that's called out right here, and it's actually called out as a 100-foot drainage easement off of the backside of the property. So I think we've got everything that is required by the ordinance. Again, same water system, same issue with septic. And again, we have a variation, and I listed fencing here as well, but we also need to include cul-de-sac length. I don't know why I didn't get it written on there, but the variation on the cul-de-sac length as well as the fencing. Any
All
questions?
So just, just the two variations?
Yes.
2 variations.
All right, we'll go ahead and open a public hearing on this agenda item number 4. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing.
Again, same things we talked about last time, and then recommended approval by Planning Commission. Variation for fencing and cul-de-sac length.
Okay, entertain a motion.
I'll move for approval of the proposed preliminary subdivision Meadows Ranch East Phase 3, 14 lots as described in the agenda. Excuse me. Located near 1525 South, 5300 West to 5700 West, and note the variations of the cul-de-sac length and the fencing requirement.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Just a side note on these two projects. This will help with housing issues, recognizing they're not affordable housing with 5-acre lots, but it is a market niche right now that we don't have a lot of availability.
Yes,
There's not a
that's
lot
really
of
true.
5-acre, 10-acre stuff available. There's some 1-acre stuff in the city and some in the county still, but this will have an attraction that we're just not available to provide in the market. So I think it will be healthy for the community and the development.
Yeah.
All right. You want us to sign?
Pardon?
Yeah,
We're not
plats.
ready for that.
Let's see,
Okay, very
we
good.
already voted on that. We're good, right?
Yeah, we're good.
You want us to sign these now?
No, we'll
Wait until the after.
Some of them are still items number 7 and 8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we'll go to public appointment section of our agenda. This is a public comment section, number 5, 3-minute time limit per speaker, and state your name and be nice.
I guess it's my turn. Good morning. My name is Gary Cutler. I live in the Bridle Path subdivision west of Cedar City off Iron Springs Road. I have had some discussions with Commissioner Wood about Iron Springs, but that's not the main reason I'm here today. Although I do reserve the right to come back and talk about Iron Springs at some point, because I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done out there.
Public comment is not a one-time right.
Thank you. I was raised in a small community in Idaho with traditional values, but have spent most of my adult life in larger cities working for very large, woke companies. My wife and I decided to retire in Cedar City because we wanted to live in a community that had similar traditional values. We believe that this is the best place for us, and we love it here. We just want to ensure that Iron County retains its conservative values. We recently heard about some issues in a very conservative county in another state where the county officials, I don't know if they were commissioners or what they were county officials, were attempting to pass ordinances or rules similar to an HOA, very restrictive, but for the entire county, that would severely restrict citizens' rights. I want to obtain assurance that that will not happen here in Iron County. So I have a few questions to which I would appreciate some answers. My first question is, are you a representative as commissioners for government and a more authoritarian government outreach or overreach, or do you represent the people who elected you? Do you fully support the U.S. Constitution as written by our founding fathers? And do you subscribe to the oath to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic? And will each of you commit to never voting for anything such as a rule, ordinance, directive, whatever you might call them, I know we call them typically ordinances, but whatever they may be called, that would contradict conservative values or the U.S. Constitution, which would then in turn restrict citizens' rights? And then the last question I have is kind of a more information, but it's so I can answer. Many elected officials file audited personal financial statements that are public record. Is that true for each of you? I respectfully ask that you answer my questions, and I thank you for your time.
This public comment is an opportunity for you to speak. If it's not an agendized item, we really aren't at liberty, Sam, is that correct, to exchange and answer things over the mic? But
So how do I get answers to those? I mean, they're questions.
you can certainly call us individually if you'd like.
Okay.
And our phone number, I give you my phone number.
Well, I've got them. They're on the.
Okay.
I've talked to the commissioner.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to do that. I would welcome that opportunity.
Please call us.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, we'd love for you to call us.
I'd love to have that conversation.
That appropriate, Sam?
Yeah.
I mean, for this meeting, I mean, it's not that we don't want to answer the questions. It's just if it's not on the agenda, we're not at liberty to have an exchange. And
The only
But-
reason I wanted to ask the questions, and I know I've only got 3 minutes, but I wanted it on record so that people could see what our commissioners stood for. I mean, I'm glad to have the conversation, but I kind of wanted it on record. If there's no way to do that,
Could
then
Sam talk about our sworn oath to the Constitution? Could you talk a little bit about every commissioner?
Sure. I wouldn't be prepared to speak about those specifically right now, but I will clarify, Paul, that in these types of settings where there's public comment, you can answer questions as you see fit. It's action items that can't occur on a public comment like that. So if they were calling on you to take action to make a vote, that wouldn't be appropriate unless it was agendized, but you can answer questions as you have the information and are willing and able to answer.
okay.
We swore when we went into office to uphold the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Utah.
thank you. I appreciate that. I also swore that oath, and I take it as a lifetime oath.
Yeah.
And I think if you look back, I guess a great example would be during COVID, when we saw both states and the federal government trying to enact things that were more restrictive. We in Iron County really stood up to both the state and at the state and the federal level against those restrictions, against businesses closing, against mandatory vaccinations. We were, in writing and in public meetings. We're very staunch about our constituents' rights and the rights of the people and less government overreach. as we've gone through, and Mr. Erickson's been pretty pivotal in a lot of these discussions. In my time in the commission over the last 7 years, we've tried to do things that allow people to do things with their property, to take away some of those restrictions on property, and make property usage, way more free. Iron County, I think, has always been a great example of property rights, of defending the Constitution, defending people's rights to I can't talk this morning, but the freedoms and practices that are afforded them in the Constitution are always really important to us. And the reason Iron County is so awesome is because of leadership for decades that have allowed those things, and I think that we continue that style of leadership. This is a group that's very conservative. We choose to live here and raise our families here, and I don't think we're going to mess with that.
And I appreciate that, and that's the kind of assurance I wanted. I think there's, and I'm speaking for me, I didn't go out and talk to a bunch of people, but it's just something that I felt strongly about. And I'm seeing this happen in other traditionally conservative counties.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned that may creep in here. I just don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
And I want assurance that won't happen.
Just to piggyback on what Commissioner Blake said, I mean, we pushed back really hard on COVID lockdowns. We just said we aren't going to participate in mandatory masks. We're going to be free in Iron County. I mean, just a small example, we had Colin Ray. They were trying to have an outdoor concert in Salt Lake. They tried several venues. They canceled them all. And I was in Salt Lake. My wife loves Colin Ray. We drove to Salt Lake to watch his outdoor concert on a 40-acre parcel. They canceled it. I called Commissioner Blake and Commissioner Adams at the time that I was serving with and said, "Do you want to have a concert in Iron County?" And they said, "Sure." So we did. We had the first outdoor concert in America in Iron County. And we, and there's no record of anybody contracting COVID from that event. There was about 4,000 people showed up. It was free, and so that's just the kind of, if that gives you a clue what we're like and what we've done, that might help you.
And I appreciate it.
And I think moving forward, we can all be really careful to vet our candidates. Moving forward for, county commission races. City council races, we just need to make sure we vet our candidates and the voters. I think it's important that we keep Iron County conservative because that's why we're all here. And
I know that we're going to continue to see what's all going on with development. See a lot of people come in from other places. Sometimes they want to bring their own values here, and we have to be cognizant of that.
We do.
I'm not going to mention any states or any people by name, but I'm just saying they come from all over, and we just have to be careful to restrict that and make sure that we not restrict the development, but make sure that we retain what we have, because it's beautiful and it's something we need to keep.
I'd just like to make a comment on the Iron Springs Road. I would like to. So I talked to Chris Stewart's representative, Cindy Bullock, and the other day, and I said, "Are we still in on that money?" And she said, "Absolutely, it's still in the appropriations, and they already made all the other cuts. We don't know. We don't have the money in our pocket, but she is very confident that we're going to get that money. It probably won't come until next March, and it may not even come then, depending on what they do in Washington D.C. But she felt very confident that it was going to stay in that appropriations, that was a final thing. So
that's good news.
I was very excited about that, and it looks like that we're still in on the running, and hopefully we can get that money for Iron Springs.
I hope so. I drive that road all the time, and it just seems to get worse and worse.
Yeah,
I've been affectionately calling it, I guess this comes from my Idaho roots, it's the goat trail, because it's pretty rough.
It's rough.
Yeah, we're really hopeful, and that's the top priority. I mean, we sought out grant funding specifically for that project, and that money, when comes, is earmarked for that project from Highway 56, ultimately out to Weco to improve that entire road. So it's
It needs it.
And we have been doing some overlay on that, on the worst parts. And somebody said, well, why are you doing anything on that? Because we've still got to maintain it. So for right now, that's what we'll do until we can get the whole project done.
And I think I mentioned that even that's a little bit rough, but I know we're
It's
trying
better than it was. And besides that, when it starts to break up on the edge, that's usually where they put the overlays. If it starts breaking up, it will come clear to the center. So we don't want that.
No.
But yeah, we've been doing some overlay on that.
And the challenge is, when I was elected 5 years ago, we were talking with Reed and others about $5 million price tag to redo that road. Now it's 10. So things have doubled in 5 years.
get it.
Well, and
It's killing us.
I think that's only out to the landfill too.
Yeah. So it's just, we didn't, and I've said this many times in meetings, we didn't cause inflation, but we're dealing with it, and it's hard.
I do get that and understand it.
So.
And I do appreciate what you do, and I don't mean to sound harsh. I'm so concerned.
I appreciate the people that hold our feet to the fire, and I mean, really, it's nice to hear. It's nice to hear that we've got folks with those concerns, that we keep our values. And thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comment. Thank you. Any others?
Commissioners, good morning. My name's Ron Clayton. I'm a Parowan resident. And it's kind of a nice segue. I've heard the word landfill and I've heard the word growth. And I'm here today to ask this commission's consideration in bringing the northern Iron County landfill hours congruent to those with the South County landfill. Parowan's growing, as is all of Iron County. And our demographics are also changing. And when I say that, I mean we've got more people that are doing yard work on Sunday. And it'd be nice to be able to use our landfill here at 8 a.m. on Monday morning. Excuse me. So if you'd please give consideration and look at changing the hours of our Northern County landfill. I know there's a number of residents on this end of the county that would sure appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I address that a little bit? So we're having a hard time keeping a person that will work in Parowan in that landfill. So that's been our challenge, is to be able to keep a person there. And also, if going forward we have to cut some things, that may be the one. And we're getting a big pushback on the increased taxes that we need to do to fund the county. And so, just to let you know that if we have to cut some things, we'll probably cut hours in all of both landfills. So sure.
I appreciate hearing that information. If the hours were to change at the northern landfill, would it be easier to get a full-time employee? I mean, I've visited with a couple of the folks up there, and the faces do change almost daily. And almost to an employee, they said, if this could be my job every day of the week, I'd sign up for it.
Well, there again, it's hard, it's hard,
Sure.
Because then you pay a full-time employee, you have to pay benefits. So
It's a lot of money.
it's a lot of money, and so that's our challenge.
Okay, are you getting any feedback from developers? Because driving that extra 20 miles or 25 miles to the other landfill certainly would add to their costs.
Mm-hmm.
We need everybody's support.
Okay.
Is what we're
well,
saying.
I would just ask that perhaps in whatever setting that this topic be brought up, and I don't know how many people have even thought about expanding the hours here, but I know if I were a developer, I'd be concerned with the added costs I had if I was going to develop in northern Iron County to drive from here to there. So.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's probably
All
an
right.
issue.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to number 6, discussion and update with 5 County Association of Governments. Nate Weiberg and Brian Theriot. These are 2 gentlemen I work with a lot in my responsibilities, and appreciate you coming today.
Can I pass these brochures?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Brian Theriot is our executive director
Yes.
for 5 County, and Nate Weiberg, what's your official title? I forget. Planning manager. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
you.
and we're
Like
dropping
that.
off some brochures to give you kind of more background of 5 County Association of Governments. I've been in this role for 10 years now, and a little bit of more background about myself is that my daughter's actually going to Southern Utah University. She just started 2 weeks ago, and she's going to do the outdoor recreation
Oh, wow.
program. So as I hear you
Nice.
talk about your tourism, I'm like, my daughter's right there. And I guess the professor asked her, so why do you want to do that? And your parents probably don't want you to do that program. And my daughter said, actually, my mom found the program and said, this is what you need to do. So that was kind of fun.
That's nice.
And then my father he was born in Cedar City. And our youngest son, with my wife and I, was born in Cedar too. So I've got a little roots around here. We have 2 offices, one in St. George and one in Cedar City here. And we appreciate Iron County and your partnership with our office here on Main Street in your facilities right next to the Visitor Center. And we're mainly here to say thank you for your partnership. It's been since 1973 that Iron County's been part of 5 County Association of Governments, and Commissioner Cousins serves on that board. And it takes on all types of different evolutions here in that the past 5 years, we really appreciate Iron County and your contributions to what we've called our 5 and 6 county congressional briefing. And this is where the past 5 years we've had congressional staffers from Washington, D.C. come out and really find boots on the grounds of to learn about the payment in lieu of taxes, the PILT program, secure rural schools, BLM, wild horses, all of those questions. So we bring them out, and your contribution really helps the 5 and 6 county, 11 counties kind of have that conversation. And so as you look at our programs here, we have real quick like aging services, Meals on Wheels that we partner with you, retired senior program, Medicare benefits. That's coming up in October. So your citizens, if they're looking to have somebody to give that counseling for Medicare, we offer that service. And then transportation. Nate's going to talk a little bit about that. Our volunteer income tax assistant program, that will come up in January. That's free income tax assistance, weatherization. And earlier today, I was on the phone with our program director for the heat assistant program in St. George. And last week we had flooding in our Cedar City office in the Hughes building here, as you were having your jail, right, flooding.
Right.
We were having flooding at our office there. And then this morning we just had a vehicle right next to our office, expedition plowed right into the building right next to us. I think only one person injured, but it was right next to our office. So anyway, the folks in there a little shook up, and so I'm sure we'll see that on the news later today. But we're really mainly here to say thank you and to answer any other questions you might have. Nate?
Thank you. I think I know most of you. I don't know, well, I know about half the audience. But I'm going to talk a little bit about economic development and transportation. I don't want to go too much into transportation. At 5 County, we partner with Iron County in their rural planning organization. Commissioner Wood sits on the board of that, and Commissioner Cousin attends most of the executive committee meetings to that as well. And so it's a great partnership. We mostly provide the coordinating efforts and planning efforts on that, and we work a lot with with Reed and Rich and the other communities in the county to make sure that the projects are being prioritized regionally so they can get funded through UDOT or other federal transportation programs. And I wanted to talk about the SEDS. It stands for Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. That's something, so years and years ago, I think it was it in the 80s, Brian, that the Economic Development Administration, federal agency, they determined that the AOGs in Utah are economic development districts. So we do the regional economic development planning, and we work a lot with all of the county economic development directors. Sad to see that I won't be working as closely with Danny anymore. He was incredible. And but our SEDS, the strategy, we just completed the initial draft. Friday was the last day for public comment on that. And the purpose of that is to help build on the strengths of our region as well as identify gaps in resources or expertise that need to be addressed, facilitate regional collaboration, expand supply chain, and grow and support new industry clusters. More likely to attract federal funds. Without the SEDS, our region wouldn't be able to access EDA funding. So we do a lot more coordination. All of our counties have economic development directors, so we do more on the coordination and planning side than in attracting businesses, and we try to support what you're doing. So that's all I have.
Good.
Any questions you have for us? Or?
So your new offices are working out okay where you've moved to, and other than cars running through the windows?
Cars running through, yeah. Scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any. I work with these guys, so I understand.
I don't have any questions. I just really appreciate everything you guys do. You guys provide such a huge service to a wide variety of folks in the county. It's awesome. We appreciate you.
And it goes to the region too, with Beaver, Garfield, Iron, Kane, and Washington County, that southwest region here. So, okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for all you do. Let's hope we get a really good person in for economic development coming up.
Yeah. Can I ask, is that going to be both for Iron County and Cedar City?
Yeah.
And kind of the same role that Danny Stewart's done?
Should say the same that way, shouldn't it, Mike?
Yeah, it's we split 50-50 with Cedar City. So
okay, good.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, thank you.
Always look forward to working with you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you
guys.
Item number 7, discussion and possible approval of the Cedar City Rail Terminal subdivision final plat. One lot, approximately 74.18 acres, located within the section identified in the agenda. This is approximately 6700 West Sage Hill Drive, Cedar City. Applicant is Savage Services. Reed.
Yes, Commissioners, I am a little bit at a loss as to why this version of what I copied does not include this application on my PowerPoint. I don't know where it happened to it. But I will introduce David Parton, who is here representing Savage Services. And you're aware of, I'm really troubled by what happened here. You're aware of where the Savage Service property is out. I'm just going to use this map right here out on Iron Springs Road. Just past, this is the edge of Cedar City right here. You can see the belt route right here at 5700 West. And as the belt route just continues just a little bit further and you get on Iron Springs Road, the Savage Service property is just on the north side of the rail, right at what was known as Aberdeen. I don't know if you're familiar with that area, but before you get to Bowman's Country Kitchen, there's a road that turns to the right, and Sage Hill Drive, and it goes up into the trees that way. And they are just right off of that. And their property is 80 acres. We did a preliminary subdivision plat almost coming on a year, so we're glad to see that they got the final subdivision plat here. They've got the improvement drawings for the road. The agreement that we had with them is that the county would chip seal the road from Iron Springs into the railroad tracks, and they would chip seal it from the railroad tracks in and across the front of their property. And that was a great agreement and arrangement. We appreciate Savage Services. This is an exciting project because, of course, this is a great service of offload, transload stations that now provide the public access to get stuff on and off the rail, and they don't have to have their own private spur going into their property in order to get something on or off the rail. That Savage Service has a great reputation throughout the country and has a number of facilities. I don't know whether David wants to mention a little bit about the company, but this final plat is doesn't have public hearing. It just comes into compliance with the ordinance, and we bring it for your final approval because it has financial guarantee in place for the improvements. They're tying on to the Central Iron County Water Conservancy District on the main line on Iron Springs Road. They'll make those road improvements across the front of their property. We're excited for them and for the project, and the plat is here, signed and ready to roll, to be recorded so that they can get a building permit and get the lines in and get going. So apologies to David and to you to not having the maps here, but I do have the plat, at least the Mylar, and so unless there are any questions about that, I think we're good to go unless David wants to say anything.
So I just wanted to thank.
If that's okay.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
I just wanted to thank Iron County that this process has been seamless, and the support that we've got from everybody in the offices here has just been spectacular. So it's been a little bit of a time lapse here. The UP is sometimes a little bit difficult to work with. We finally got over that hurdle. So we're ready to put a shovel in the ground and really see if we can help this community with transportation needs.
So I have a question. So obviously BZI to the south of you that just did their 800 acres, and then will you guys be competitors? Will you do different
No, I don't think we'll be
things?
competitors. I mean, right now the customers we're signing up are dry good customers that are coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, every rail car holds about 4 truckloads of goods.
Okay.
So goods that are typically coming in here to support businesses here, it's going to take 4 of those truckloads off the roads, off the freeways to get it here. So, but no, I don't think, we haven't taken any customers away from them. We don't see any problem there or anything that's
I'm just
gonna
curious what the different.
But anyway, we just
markets.
appreciate all the support, and Reed and his team has been fantastic, and we appreciate that.
So, like for instance, the gypsum mine up the canyon, where they're trucking gypsum products out. Is that the type of
Absolutely.
business you'll?
So transload both from rail to truck, but also from truck to rail.
So they would bring their trucks from there, just instead of hauling them to wherever they're going, they'll bring
Yes.
them to you, and then you'll put them on rail and
Absolutely.
get them off the road.
Probably both of those, both ways. So our last big project was Pocatello. Is the last place that Pocatello did not have any transload infrastructure there.
Right.
And it's really helped the community, taking vehicles off the road, trucks off the road, and also bringing economic value to the region. So we're
Awesome.
excited to be here.
Agriculture, will you have some,
Absolutely. So
agriculture?
example, Pocatello is compressed pellet, alfalfa pellets, and that were being trucked from Pocatello down to Salt Lake every day. And so those are all now put onto rail and transported that way. So there's just many different commodities that will be impacted positively by this project.
Okay.
Yeah.
One criticism of transload facilities is that they are somehow more polluting, but it seems to me that the efficiency of trains kind of...
Absolutely. Yeah, and a lot of, not in particular in this case, but a lot of rail is going to the green cars, so the diesel's becoming more green with the engines, so those are things that are coming down the line too to make it more benefit. But yeah, rail is really a future that people need to buy into, just because of how serious the truck traffic is getting on the freeways.
Oh, it's gotten crazy.
Yeah, so this will be a great advantage. And you figure a unit train can be 100 cars. So we have the capacity to hold 2 unit trains in this facility. So the down road opportunity for customers to bring their goods in this way instead of over the road will be significant.
That's
Awesome.
great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I also mentioned that they are part of the Iron Springs Inland Port Authority. Their property is included in the inland port as part of the inland port, so they'll have the ability to tap into the resources from that and contribute as well. So that's a good thing.
And it's been it's been really great to work with, both BZI, the Inland Port, Savage. I think as we watch this project come together, this is going to be, I think, the most significant economic and industrial operation in Iron County. I really think this is just going to change the future. I don't think we even have a
clue what it's really going to do for us.
No, and it's
put more traffic on Iron Springs Road, but outside of that,
if we get Iron Springs Road up to snuff. But yeah, this is just really exciting. It's been awesome to work with Danny and work with both Savage and BZI and the Inland Port folks on the project. So
they know what they're doing. This isn't their first project. They're across the country, and they have a number of facilities that they operate in, and they're gonna hit the ground running.
Okay.
Great.
Entertain a motion.
I would move for approval of the Cedar City Rail Terminal subdivision plat, final plat, one lot, approximately 74.18 acres. The description there, and located at approximately 6700 West Sage Hill Drive, Cedar City, Utah.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Number 8, discussion and possible approval of the partial subdivision vacate and amend for lots 8 and 9, Pinto Creek Ranchos subdivision. This is to combine into a single lot, 8A, for Terry and Kara McCausey. How do you pronounce that? I don't know.
I always got it wrong, so
McCausey.
Corrected me numerous times.
Right.
I just quit saying it.
This approximately 2.53 acres within the description there, located near 4354 South and 4370 South. Oh, near. Okay.
Those are the address of the 2 lots.
And then 18050 West, Cedar City, Utah. Applicants are Terry and Kara, presented by Reed.
This and the next item are both very similar in that they're older existing subdivisions where the lots were smaller, and the way that they were configured made it difficult to site a home on the lot without being on the lot line and too close to the lot line. So their resolution was to just combine them into a single lot, eliminate that, and topography. And where it was buildable on the property, and they owned both lots. They just want to eliminate that lot line that's between them and have a new lot. And typically, we always take the lower number of the 2 and make it an A, so that they know it's an amended lot, 8A, 8 and 9. And so this is very straightforward. This is out west on Pinto area. You can see by the map there, and this has been the very bottom southwest corner of the subdivision. These 2 lots right here is where it fits into the subdivision. So it's just combining them and have one single lot of 2.53 acres, which is really better in terms of septic and everything related to it. So it's an existing lot, existing subdivision, and requires simply an action of the county commission. There's nothing for the planning commission or anything. Any questions?
Nope.
Motion?
I'd move for approval of the partial subdivision vacate and amend for lots 8 and 9, Pinto Creek Rancho subdivision, combine into a single lot, 8A, for Terry and Kara. There's approximately 2.53 acres within the legal description included on the agenda, located near 4354 South and 4370 South, 18,050 West, Cedar City.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Number 9, discussion and possible approval of the partial subdivision vacate and amend for lots 9 and 10, block Block N, Meadow Lake Estates subdivision combined into a single lot 9A for Polson Family Trust, Bryce and Andrea Polson and David DeMarcus, approximately 0.66 acres within the description in the agenda. And this is addressed as 3152 South and 3166 South, 2525 East, Bryan Head, Utah.
This is located just out east of the Cedar Breaks Monument, off of Highway 143, the Meadow Lakes Ranch subdivision, as you're aware, Meadow Lake Estates subdivision. Many of those lots were very tiny lots. Some of them were 0.1 acres. This 0.66, that's a combined acreage between these two lots. And so they were just subdivided many years ago, before we really had ordinances that really prohibited any and required any kind of improvements to make it really feasible to even build on the lot. So you can see here, this is in, again, the very bottom southwest corner of the subdivision. These two lots that are lots 9 and 10 would just be combined to eliminate the lot line and allow them to be able to build on this lot and fit a cabin up there and be on this lot. So same issue as last time, and very straightforward and complies with the ordinance. We have a plat, of course, requires a plat amendment, a partial vacate and amend. We're vacating those two lots, combining them into a single lot, lot 9A. Any questions?
Nope.
Motion. I would move for approval of the partial subdivision vacate and amend for lot 9 and 10, block N, Meadow Lake Estate subdivision, combining into single lot 9A for the Polson Family Trust, in care of Bryce and Andrea Polson and David Demaris. Approximately 66 acres. The description there and the address as 3152 South and 3166 South and 2525 East, Bryan Head, Utah.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 10, ratification of service agreement.
Can we sign these?
Should we sign those now?
Is that okay?
Yes.
Mike, I don't want to Mike wait. I can wait a little bit if you want to take care of his item. But I didn't realize Mike was on there, so I wouldn't have done it. Can't really do that to you, Mike. And the party?
Yes.
Oh, he did. He was finishing up something.
Thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, number 10, ratification of service agreement contract between Iron County and Pendleton Building to restore the 5 Mile Pavilion. Mike Worthen.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners. This is probably the last thing we're going to do at the 5 Mile with this grant. It's to restore the pavilion, and we've kind of put that off because I know it was going to.
It was a big thing.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's probably costing us double what it would have had we done it the first part. Anyway, it is for just about 60,000 on that on this grant. Part of the funding I've had set aside for this, and then I've requested some reapportionment of other parts of my budget to that, so it won't be any additional funds that are not accounted for somewhere.
What is paid for with the grant versus your budget?
Well, the grant pay was something that I put in for the grant for this purpose. And then what I didn't have once I got the bid, it was more than what I had set
Because the
aside
price
for.
has gone up
Yes.
so significantly.
We don't have a grant yet for this? Or?
Yes.
We
We do. But how much is it?
Oh, that grant was 109 or 100.
He's used it up to 5
Yeah.
Mile, a lot of
Oh,
it.
so it's just a pool of money of a grant to
Yes.
cover a lot of these things. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
and so we're not matching any. It just comes out of that original grant.
Comes out of the original grant
Okay.
plus what I did not account for. I've asked the auditor's office to reapportion some funds that I had on another project.
On another project,
Right.
which you're
Is-
able to do. So you're going to pay for the whole thing. It's not going to
Exactly.
come out of
Okay.
general
I'm not gonna
funds
come
at
and
all.
ask the
Right.
commissioners for more money for
All right. And is that going to leave us short in other areas, or are we going to be okay?
it. No, it won't.
When are they going to be able to do that?
I've been talking with Larry and we're hoping to have that done by mid-November at the
Oh, wow.
latest. So
Now,
yeah.
start on it. Oh, that's great.
So,
Yeah.
and then next spring I plan on instituting phase 2 and requesting another grant to finish everything.
Oh,
up.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to ratify service agreement contract between Iron County and Pendleton Building Incorporated to restore the 5 Mile Pavilion.
Second?
It's been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Hey,
Thank you,
Perfect.
Mike.
would you get that to me? A copy of that?
Yeah,
Just needs to sign it.
that's okay. We'll scan it and get it to you.
Thanks, Mike.
County boards, anything there? Still working on the water thing. We're working
Yeah.
through that.
Yeah.
I'm working on that. But
Okay.
all right. Other than that, we'll declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
The first meeting I've ever had with no personnel.
Oh, I know.
That is odd.